right, guys, welcome to the Heavy Gear cast dedicated to your heavy gear needs. I'm your host, D-Ron, and today I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Colin and Gene. How you guys doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. So,
Another beautiful day in the neighborhood, man.
It is.
yeah, as you guys can tell, I have a better mic, so my voice sounds a lot more clear and less annoying and choppy. So hopefully, at least for the viewers, it won't be super annoying for you guys. Yeah. And today we're going to be talking about the South, which a lot of people are pretty excited for. I'm pretty sure most, I mean, Colin, you're probably like, whatever. It's just the
My
South.
arch foes is who they are.
Yep.
I'm contractually obligated to not like them. I like them, but I'm not allowed to like them. So
Yeah. And and Gene, you actually play the South, right?
Yes, Viva la South.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet all these South players are just like super pumped and excited. A lot more excited than probably the North players. They're like, oh, whatever. We already know everything about the North.
Great. They're the good guys.
Yep. Yeah. So before we get into that, I guess we can talk about some hobby progress. So we'll start off with you, Gene. What have you been working on since we last talked?
Oh Lord, more CEF.
Oh,
So
yeah, I bet
much
you have a
CEF.
lot.
So much. And well, stimulus is about to hit, so I might spend more money and
Oh
get in
boy.
trouble. Yes.
What do you think of getting?
Oh Lord. More South.
That's
Daddy
the right
needs more
answer.
Cobras. Daddy needs more Cobras.
Always.
Oh, Cobras are I guess we'll talk about it later. I assume they're the Grizzly variant.
That is fire sport variant, though. If you call them a grizzly, you'll make me very upset.
Yes, they're reminiscent of a grizzly, but we'll talk about that later.
Very different role, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And better.
Okay, we'll do it this way then.
Yeah. And any painting you've been doing so far, as I guess what you've been painting, any of the tanks?
Just trying to figure out how to do green with an airbrush.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Everything is pretty tough to learn. I've only done it for basing, but I haven't done it for anything else really.
There's a technique that you can do that simulates overbrushing with an airbrush. So you show like panel lines, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that right now.
Oh, okay.
You ever tried a Tamiya panel line brush?
Nope, I
Pen,
just
should
want to
say?
do it like real fast.
That does help, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Airbrush, shoot it through the airbrush, do it real fast, get it done, then do my highlights. Boom, I'm done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How many tanks do you own, by the way? Because CF has a lot of tanks. You probably have 10.
Sadly, only like 8.
Oh, jeez. But their tanks are like really expensive. Are they?
Yes, they're chunky boys.
Yeah, they don't seem like cheap tanks on the tabletop, at least.
Oh, that reminds me. I saw your progress on Peace River. Awesome job.
They're looking great.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It took me, well, since I'm so used to painting 40K armies, it basically took me like a day or two just to basically get all of it done. So I'm pretty happy for it. They're going to be on the channel, and right now I'm working on the nuclear half. I think I have about a day or two before I'm fully finished with that side, and then from there I just work on the train. So should be having a battle report probably in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, if everything goes well.
Cannot wait to get that up.
Yeah, and they like work perfect together. Blue and red, I never realized it because everyone talks about the North and South as opposites, but no one really thinks of New Coal and Peace River too
They
much.
do really hate each other. Like,
Yeah.
there's a legitimate, honest to goodness hate between the two, and it's mostly because of Port Arthur.
Yep.
Mostly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Colin, what have you been up to?
I've been working on a secret project. I'm preparing to do some line drawing animations for Gears
Oh, awesome.
from feet to wheels and back again.
Sweet. Do you do So you're drawing this yourself, or are you commissioning someone?
No, I do it myself.
Wow. So
I'm far too cheap to get someone else to do that sort of thing.
That's awesome. So you're full on artist then. That's pretty
I
sweet.
like to pretend, yeah. I don't know if it's a fantastic stuff, but it's enough that people say, "Hey, that looks like a gear," so it's close enough.
With Utopia, when we were last talking about the Utopia stuff, did you actually design any of that stuff?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
All of the stuff that's from the original books and the armatures are from before me. I completely did the Marduk. That's mine. And the Enlil variant for the Commando toaster is something I did. I think it's a really cool design. I'm going to use it somewhere else because I like it. But they basically clipped its wings off. It was supposed to have wings, and it didn't, and it makes me sad because they were cool.
Oh, is that the one on the hover platform, or is that the flying one? The flying
It's
armor.
the VTOL toaster. It's the variant that you can get that gives it VTOL, and it has that longer kind of spar on the back. It was supposed to have gyrocopter wings, so in a cross and X formation, and they would be able to pivot into almost a biplane sort of formation. So if they're flying a long distance, they'll swing out into a biplane, dual wing look. And then when they are hovering in place and doing a VTOL attack, they pop out into more of a dragonfly, a gyrocopter look.
Wow, that actually sounds really cool. I'm
Yeah.
surprised
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm surprised they actually took the design off, because that would have been yeah, I'm just thinking about it right now.
It was purely a design decision that was based on money. It costs a lot. Every part on a sprue costs a lot. And if they were to do that with the Enlil, they would have to make the sprue bigger, so it wouldn't fit with the others. And every part is a pretty hefty chunk, and that would add at least 4, if not 8 parts to the sprue. And they just decided, no, we're just going to have this one little part that sticks on the back. And I can understand that. So maybe in the future. I'm definitely going to be scratch building some, though, so you'll see what it was.
Yeah, because I think Utopia, we talked about before, they definitely need some more stuff. And if you can lend some designs to that, that designs already look great. So just adding more models to the range is always better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we actually do that episode.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal any thunder from the South, after all. They need all the thunder they can get. So,
Yep. True. I know these South players are like, but you guys need to start talking about the South. Come on.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, and Gene's our main South guy, so I guess Gene's going to be giving you guys all the tactics and lore and stuff about the South today, so that will be good. I know that when we were talking about the North, Gene was like, these guys are not so great. These guys are boring. Let's talk about the South.
They're not as fun, but anyway.
They're more conventional. They're more boring. And you know what? I'll be the first to admit that the Northern play style is way more conventional. It's way more just put them in a line and take it slow. But we'll get to that. Don't worry.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess with that, we can start and we can go ahead and start talking about the South. If you guys want to, if you guys are ready.
Yep, we're ready, man.
Awesome. So I guess with the South, it starts with Gropius, I'm pretty sure. And I guess we can basically talk about before then. This is when Earth is pulling its resources away from Terra Nova at this point. And I guess Gene, you can, or Colin, you guys can both kind of chip in. Like, how does that actually start, and how does that progress into what we know as the South today?
Let Colin start, because I'm more of the modern history versus the prehistory.
Oh dear. I will do a very I'll do a very kind of high overview of what's happened in the South, mostly because we covered a lot of this in the Northern episode. We don't need to go kind of piece by piece everything that happened, because we've already covered a lot of it. It starts, as with most things on Terra Nova, it starts with when Earth left the planet. They abandoned all of their colonies all at once. And it's important to point out that nobody really knows why they did. They assume it was an economic collapse. Earth had basically overextended itself, supporting all of its colonies, and just over the course of a couple of years, just pulled everything back. And there was just widespread panic across the colonies. And that was true both in the north and the south, all across Terra Nova and throughout the rest of the Gate Web, all of the colonies. So the couple hundred cycles after that is the Reconstruction period. And in the south, the Reconstruction period is very dynamic. Most of the leagues start, like they formed a little bit earlier. Their first confederations formed a little bit earlier. They tended to have very chaotic formations. Most of them have some war in their beginnings, for example. The first one that forms is actually the Humanist Alliance, it's Gropius. And that is the beginning of the league structure. So as we were talking from episode before, all of the city-states basically form the functional unit of politics on Terra Nova. And that's true in the south and the north at the same time. And in the south, you start seeing these city-states form into small leagues, which start fighting the other small leagues, because that's what you do on Terra Nova. You fight your neighbors. I guess there's nothing much else to do. So Humanist Alliance forms. I don't believe they had a little bit of formation problems to begin with, as they were basically, I won't say the word enslaving, but enslaving the populace to form their perfect society. You'll hear things like that repeated more than once in talking about the Southern, political history.
Yeah, it gets pretty bloody.
It's pretty grim, and it continues to be, because the Humanist Alliance, as it formed first, it was an experiment to try to make Plato's Republic's perfect society work.
And wasn't that the Humanist Alliance the first league to be developed?
Yes.
Okay. Because at first, I think in the North videos, for one, I thought Gropius was part of the North. I didn't realize he was the South. I thought the North was the first league to be started, but I didn't realize it was actually Gropius who started the first league.
Yeah, it was mentioned a little bit in the NLC book, because the NLC and the Humanist Alliance formed close to one another in time. Down in the South, they mentioned that Gropius was the first ones to do it, and Yuri Gropius formed the Humanist Alliance. Meanwhile, at the same time, there was the Mekong Alliance, which is basically a bunch of mobsters. Basically, the criminal cartels took over in the Mekong Dominion. Again, it was originally the Mekong Alliance, and their enforcers became the military. They're now the peacekeepers. They had themselves some internal strife, and they became a legitimate, for certain values of legitimate, corporate oligarchy. At the same time as the Mekong Dominion was pulling together, the Eastern Sun Emirates were basically continuing as they had been before, being feudal lords ruled over by no one. And I believe that Strathclyde, the Emir of Strathclyde, basically started going around and conquering all of his neighbors. And that's where the Primarch, because the Primarch formed the Eastern Sun Emirates, and he's the overall ruler and is the most corrupt and very Nero fiddling while Rome burns guy. And he basically started conquering all of his neighbors to form the Eastern Sun Emirates, while the Mekong Dominion was pulling itself through internecine struggles from, I can't remember the cities. Loyang was involved, and I can't remember the second one, but there was an internal conflict within the Mekong Alliance. That conflict ended just as the Southern Republic was forming. Southern Republic was a almost Napoleonic sort of conquest of the territories that would become the Southern Republic, from Port Oasis being the capital of the South and the Southern Republic. So Port Oasis goes around, conquers everything around Lake Esperance and its immediate environs, has a big army in doing so, and it conquers its neighbors in such a way that all of its neighbors are very happy to be conquered, because they know the war is going to continue and they're on the winning side. So very much about morale and propaganda and political control, and a lot of themes that might ring fairly true today, to be perfectly honest. But then they show up at the borders of the newly kind of establishing Mekong Dominion. And the Mekong Dominion says, oh, you're going around conquering everyone. How about we ally? Because they have a lot of economic power. They have a lot of natural resources, whereas the Southern Republic has a lot of manpower, a lot of military, and a lot of political will. So they ally. They ally with the Mekong Dominion, knowing full well that they did this to avoid being conquered because they would not have won that. So they made a very clever decision to not bother fighting in the first place. At which point, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask. So the Southern Republic was very small, and it was basically just expanding its borders and just swallowing all these little settlements to make it bigger. And Mekong just wanted to ally with them because they knew it was economically better to do.
Yes, that is correct. The Southern Republic formed in the unification campaigns. I believe there were 2 of them. And yeah, they basically formed the Allied Southern Territories and then went around and conquered everyone around them. It took them a good while to actually form the Southern Republic in total. It was 1670 by the time it actually pulled together.
Wow, that's a long time because I think looking at the history, I think it was like 1479 that Gropius developed the Humanist Alliance. So that's a long time.
Yes.
That passes between the first Southern League and eventually the Southern Republic kind of taking over everything. Now, was there any? So I know the Mekong was joining the Southern Republic. As far as like conquering and stuff like that, how much was the in-house fighting? Because I know the North had some fighting in between the 3 states. Was there a lot of that?
Oh yeah.
Between?
Okay. Yes. The CNCS and the AST are completely different animals. The Republic formed in 1670 around, and that's when it was finally when its current borders emerged. In 1678, the Mekong Dominion and the Southern Republic formed an alliance that bound the Dominion to the Republic. Like it was a one-sided alliance, but it was a one-sided alliance that the Mekong Dominion wanted because they knew they could exert economic and political control over the Republic that they wouldn't be able to militarily. And then they conquered their neighbors. Like it was not a negotiation. It was not like they didn't stop. The reason why the CNCS formed is because the Allied Southern Territories gobbled up the entire South.
Yep, just kept growing and growing.
And it was 1686, 1688 for the Merchant War. So if you remember the Merchant War being what prompted the beginning of the CNCS, that was right around when the AST was building up its massive army and starting to just basically march on the Humanist Alliance and the ESE. And to this day, that's the relationship between the Southern Republic and its neighbors. It is the overlord. They are the maybe willing, maybe unwilling servants. It is a very one-sided, very top-down empire, really. And all of the other 3, now technically 3 still, but they're all client states.
Yeah, and everyone thinks that you could look at it from a bad guy perspective, but to be honest, it makes sense. It's unlike the North where they all just chipped in together and stayed mutual. I'm pretty sure it's a lot tougher to do that in the South and just with their culture, just with how all the states formed. So it makes sense for the Southern Republic to just be like, yeah, we're not going to just do these politics and whatever. We're just going to conquer you and you just become one of us.
The political systems in the South have always been a little bit more open, where, yeah, corruption happens, deal with that. Yeah, might makes right, deal with that. That's always been what's about. Bribery and shows of force mean a lot more down in the South. And the rule of law is not nearly as strong as who's got whose favor. It's always been the case. No matter which sort of nation you're in, they are inherently non-democratic, non-liberal states. Like slavery is legal in all of the states except for the Southern Republic, technically. And I suppose technically in the Humanist Alliance, but all of the commoners are technically slaves. If you look at the actual definition of what their lives are like, they're basically slaves, depending on which time period you're in, because once the Humanist Alliance is annexed and all of the kind of upper class proctors and the like are gone, they're slaves that don't technically really have a master, and they're trying to figure out how to rule things on their own. So interesting stuff happening there. Yeah.
And at this point, is the South larger than the North as far as like population and just military might?
Ooh. I'll talk about that historically, and then I'll let you pick up the modern day. Historically, the South has always had a larger army that is less trained. They're more just like shovel people in, shovel them into gears, give them equipment, whatever you got, doesn't matter. Bulk out the army as much as possible. They do have some excellent pilots, units, experienced regiments, etc. But they bulk that out with just piles of chod, just piles and piles of the Southern militias. Technically, that's what I'm talking about here, is that most of the Southern militia is that.
Here's your autocannon, here's your gear, have a nice day, go fight in the glory of the South.
Yeah. You've only got one clip of ammo. If you need more, there should be some dead bodies nearby. Just go get some more. That's the attitude they take. And they have political officers, they have commissars. It's not 40K style. You're going to ace somebody just to keep the squad from falling back. But you might. Like that sort of Soviet style commissar attitude will appear in some Southern militia units. They are the only army on Terra Nova outside of the ESE that uses penal legions. So you're a prisoner. Here's a really crappy gear with fragile armor. Quite literally, that is the name of the flaw the armor has. It's fragile. And here's a machine gun. Autocannon? No, you don't get an autocannon. Here's a machine gun. Yeah. Meanwhile, the MPs behind you with the big shields, like the Cobras with the shields and all of the vehicles with kind of the riot stuff. Yeah, that's not for fighting North. That's for making sure the penal legions stay in line
and push them forward.
Exactly. That's entirely what it's about. Totally. But I'll let you get in on the kind of the modern edge of things.
Okay. Where should we start with the more modern edge?
I guess we can start with, do we want to start talking about the states individually and then move on to the history and certain battles that the South takes place? Because I think it's important to know the states first before we go into the known battles per se. Yep. I guess the biggest one is the Southern Republic, so we can start off with that one. Gene, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So the Southern Republic, like we were saying a bit ago, is the big dominant power. Now, the funny thing is it's not democratic, like at all. It's literally led by one person, and it's very tyrannical in nature. And it used not just open warfare, but also propaganda to help other southern states join in.
You mean it's not democratic? They have elections every 2 years, and they're totally above board. Very much above board. Oh, absolutely. It's a northern lie is what that is.
Yeah. Sure.
They discussed the Curia now, or I think I'm pronouncing it right. Is it pronounced the Curia? It's the organization. Is that just for the Allied Southern Territories as a whole, or is that also how the Southern Republic is formed? I was just reading up on it. They have 25 members called Lord Councilors, and then they have the three of them are known as like Lord Chancellors, and then one of them is also called like the Lord Protector.
The Lord Protector is basically for lack of a better term, pretty much a king of the Southern Republic and the council. He elevates people depending on his mood or how well members of the Curia have served him. So if you've done really well helping the Lord Protector, he'll elevate you to be a Lord Counselor.
Oh,
There is a
so it's a
bit
lot
more
of
too.
butt kissing.
Yeah,
A lot of corruption, a little bit of butt kissing, some politicking, all that jazz to try to curry favor with the Lord Protector, because he has the absolute say on what happens. Now, yes, the Southern Republic does vote in the Curia every 2 years, but if they get elevated to Lord Protector, then they get more favors or they get more perks for being a Lord Protector. But that's go ahead.
I think you might have something confused. I'm just checking a thing.
Oh, yeah. I think I might have.
Yeah, the Curia is the AST. It's the entire South.
Yes.
And you're completely true about that. And that's basically the rulership of the AST is the Curia. And the Lord Protector is absolutely, he's basically the king. What's the guy's name? I can't remember what his name is. That is Jacques Molay, at least according to 1932. The leadership of the Southern Republic is found
the
in
States General.
Yep.
With a 500-member parliament.
Yep. And they also have massive numbers of people involved, and they have elections every 2 years, and they meet every 4 days.
Yep. Et cetera. My apologies. But, I got a little bit confused.
Yeah, it's okay.
But still, the Estates General still promotes within the parliament.
And it's important to note just how entangled the Curia and the Estates General are. Like the Curia is the rulership of the AST, and it is basically side by side with the Estates General, and they're attached at the hip. They're very connected. Any intrigues that are happening in the Southern Republic with the Estates General is very much entangled with the Curia, and vice versa. And that's actually one of the mechanisms of the Mekong Dominion's influence over the Southern Republic, is they're going through their agents of the Curia to get into the dealings of the Estates General. And there's an appearance of democracy because they have all of these senators and people running around and things like that. But it's really just a multiple party dictatorship. Is really what it is. That's what they define it there. So, yeah.
Because the largest party gets to vote on whatever legislation gets enacted.
Yeah, it always confused me that the whole South is called the Allied Southern Territories, and then obviously the main state is called the Southern Republic. I used to always get that mixed up.
Yeah.
The Allied Southern Territories is just obviously everyone from the South, and then the Southern Republic is basically the main head, just the Northern Lights, basically.
The two are technically modeled off of the Cold War. So you can think of the South as being the Warsaw Pact. And so that would be the USSR in charge, or the Southern Republic. And then there's a bunch of satellite states that were technically independent, but were client states of the USSR. And that's very similar to what's happening in the South. It's not the same because there's a lot more influence that the client states can hold over the Southern Republic than happened in the Warsaw Pact. But it's a pretty close approximation.
Yeah, and also the Southern Republic, I was just reading up on it. I thought this was cool. It talked about like the mood that generally people have when they're in the Southern Republic, and they view themselves as very just above everyone else. Like they don't even, like when it comes to like Mekong or some of the other states, if you're not really Southern Republic, they just view you as trash for the most part. I'm not too sure how true that is, but that's what I was just reading up on recently.
Absolutely true.
Yep.
And they're very prideful as well. They just have this, I would say most South players are very much like this.
Exactly.
Hey, that's Northern propaganda.
I'll believe it. It's very similar to revolutionary France in that respect, or imperial France, I should say, is the better thing to say. So post Napoleon's in power, he's conquered pretty much all of Europe. He's coronated himself and is now king of the world. And the Republicans are basically all in that party. That's what they're doing. They are the rulers of a globe-spanning empire. Their enemies to the north are pathetic, and the only reason they haven't been conquered is because it would just be such a bother, and who really wants them anyways? You know.
Yeah, and the Southern Republic also has the largest army. Is that also correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because of the militia.
Yeah. The SRA is the largest national army of the South. The other three leagues do not have national armies of the same size or quality. The Southern Republican Army is the best. It's arguably the best army in or on Terra Nova. Is the
Well,
SRA.
when we say SRA, we mean Southern Republican Army.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, and generally the South just has a bigger military or bigger emphasis on the military in general.
Yeah.
Well, they have might makes right.
Exactly. And they have to, because they have to make sure that their client states stay client states. So a lot of that militia is there as garrison, and it's not to defend against the North, it's to keep the South in line. So you'll see militia units are usually mixed, and they're never posted to the same areas as they're drawn from for that particular reason. They take people from Mekong and put them in the ESC. They take people from the ESC and put them in the Humanist Alliance, just so that way they don't have any kind of nationalist loyalty affecting their duties. Because their duties are largely about making sure that none of the locals get too uppity.
Yep.
Yeah, and I assume and I don't know if this is the AST or the Southern Republic, because they go, what you guys said, they go hand in hand. I was just reading up that even when it comes to politics and decision making, that they usually hear out the other states like Mekong or whatever, but they really don't have that much power as far as in the political structure. I'm not sure how true that is. If you guys can elaborate on that more.
Like most of the like Mekong and ESC or the Eastern Suns, they get to have ambassadors, but they don't really get a lot of say in what they get. Ambassadors to help parlay the government and the curia for favors or what they need, but they don't really get a huge, gigantic say in the government. Like they may have a couple of curia members, but most of it's just or I cannot pronounce that word. Ambassadors going, hey, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should, if we do this, we can get a little bit of favors.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a balancing act with them, because the curia does have members. There are curia, I think they're senators is what they're called.
Yeah.
They're from all of the client states. All of the states of the South have membership, but the Southern Republic has more. And basically, if anything gets done in the South, it's because the Southern Republic wants it. You need to have the Southern Republic on side in order to get anything through the curia. And that's how they maintain power.
Yeah, that's very interesting. To be honest, I'm actually pretty intrigued by the South. They seem to have a bit more craziness on their side of politics, which is always fun to read about. But yeah, so I guess we can start with the next one, because we've mentioned it a lot, the Mekong Dominion. Is it pronounced Mekong, or I'm pretty sure? Oh, Mekong. Okay.
Mekong, yeah.
Okay, then I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time.
Before we do that, so one of the most important cities of the Southern Republic is Port Oasis. It's one of the original spaceports from when they were when it was an Earth colony, and it's still working to this day.
Yeah. Whereas in the north, there's Port Aurora, which is the capital of the Northern Lights Confederacy. So
interesting.
So anyway,
I always related to I always relate Mekong to the UMF of the North, because they're very more of a corporation type of state and all that. But Gene, yeah, I guess you guys can more elaborate on that.
So while true, they are very corporate, but princes and what's called emirs, rule each corporation. And each corporation basically, if they want to be in government, they have to have a net worth of 100 million dinars or Mekong money to just have a seat on the legislation.
Yeah, the legislative body of the Mekong Dominion is a corporate oligarchy, and it's an assembly, just like you'd expect from a democratic thing, but it's corporations, not people. And like you're saying, 100 million dinars is the net value of the corporations that are on the golden inner circle, and they're like the cabinet. They do the actual thing, and all the other corporations have votes, but that's it. And in order to be considered a citizen of the Mekong Dominion, you have to have shares in one of these companies as part of the assembly. Otherwise, you're not a citizen, and you don't get any citizens' right, like the right to travel or the right to work or all sorts of things like that. So yeah, it's a pretty cyberpunk dystopia as far as the governing body is. It's pretty scary that way.
Yeah, it seems well, and also the thing I was reading about, there's not that many people on the seats of government. I think I was reading 25. So there's not that many, companies that share a seat of power. But that's also an option, right? Like it's not like every corporation that makes that amount automatically has to have a seat on the government. So there's probably more companies out there. And I don't know how much 100 million is on Terra Nova as far as their currency. So I'm not too sure if that's more like a billionaire type of scenario.
It's basically a dinar or a mark, the northern mark, maps to the US dollar pretty well. They did that intentionally. So, except it maps to the US dollar as per 1987 or whenever it was published.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, if you read that as dollars, then that's okay. But of course, back then, $100 million company versus $1 billion company, the numbers have changed a bit. But I think there's 20 companies within the inner circles of the Mekong Dominion. Do you think you're about right? There's not very many.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Yeah. And the political intrigues that go on in the Mekong Dominion are terrifying. All of the corporate espionage that you would expect goes on quite a bit there. And a lot of their efforts go into screwing around with the Southern Republic to keep the Southern Republic from taking over. The Southern Republic has tried getting some of their corporations into the inner circle, and they have failed horribly because they're just not capable of swimming in that shark tank. And I think the UMF has tried too. I can't remember where I read that from, but I seem to recall that sort of thing. But yeah, nobody's been able to. And the Mekong Dominion has been able to maintain their hold over their own assembly quite well and use it to terrifying effect elsewhere.
Yeah, and Colin, I think we were talking about yesterday, there was a time that the Mekong and UMF almost allied with each other, correct?
That is correct. There was a lot of fears about that. There was a lot of fear behind it, and a lot of work from the North and the South was basically about making sure that doesn't happen, because those two allied would just destroy everything. Fortunately, they don't particularly like each other. Because even though they're both corporate, they have a very different idea of what the perfect libertarian society should be. And because in the North, in the UMF system is all about individual success and drive, etc. It's not necessarily about loyalty to company. And you can see that in the fact that they sell voting shares to everybody. Anyone who wants a voting share can buy it. You can buy as many as you want. Whereas in the Mekong Dominion, it's all about the corporation. They're much more like Zaibatsu or something like that, where your corporation is everything. You can't buy voting shares in anything. All you can do is try and get shares in some of the companies that are part of the assembly and hope that those companies stay in the positions that you want them to.
And so it's speaking of shares,
yeah.
So the hilarious thing is, so employees of these mega corporations, for borrowing a term, are given shares as a reward, but they have to select a CEO of a company as a proxy for their vote in Mekong.
Yeah, it seems like employees Yeah, it seems like employees are very like dedicated to their company almost. They seem very like it feels like you basically just have the higher ups of the corporation and then just all the employees, right? There seems to not be that middle ground per se.
Well, the company is everything. It gives you life, gives you votes, gives you a place to work. It gives you all kinds of benefits.
It's very much a corporate feudalism. You have your corp is mom, corp is father, and there's no idea of leaving that. That's a concept that it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just really
mostly
looked down
foreign.
upon. Yeah. Like, why would you do that? You'd betray everything that you've stood for, and your family has stood for generations by switching corporations. Whereas in the UMF, it's like, oh, you're getting a job over there? Oh, cool. I guess I'll see you around. And we still going out for pool on Tuesday, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very different attitudes. It's very much more, like I said, it's a almost more like the Western Frontier Protectorate, except instead of it being a clan and a family, it's your corporation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think Mekong is very known for the peacekeepers, correct? Like its officer corps
Yes.
that it has. And it's basically like a pretty well-known military police force. They have some of them that join the military, but most of them just stay within the Mekong state, correct?
Yeah. The majority stay are because it's not only a police force, but it's also a security force that are supposed to protect it. Also, so it protects the citizens, keeps the company safe, but also make sure that Mekong is completely safe, unless it's from the Southern Republic.
Yeah, then it does count.
Yeah, I heard they're like very well respected as far as a military, like just a police force in general. And I assume if you're playing on the tabletop, that like if you want something more police orientated, I assume this is probably the faction for you, or like the state you want to play.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because they're a highly regarded professional army.
Are very intensely disciplined. They're very austere and stoic. They have a very strong sense of personal honor that guides their actions. They tend to do things according to their sense of morality. They're not following a book of ethics. They're following what they believe is right. Of course, their sense of what right and wrong is all about the corporation. So it's not that they're saints or paladins or anything like that. They're a lot more like samurai, really.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and would you say they're better like police officers or whatever than the Southern Republic, or they are about equal?
The big difference between them is in the Southern Republic, if you slip your police officer $1,000, then you probably get off whatever it is that's happening. Whereas if you try to do that with a peacekeeper, you're still going to jail and you have a broken nose.
Sweet. Is there anything else with the sorry, not Dynasty, the Mekong Dominion that you guys can share with this episode?
You got anything?
I think that's pretty much covering it, man.
I've got one thing that I probably want to mention is that the Mekong suffered a great deal during the Interpolar War. The Mekong Dominion was the target of I guess a Northern Crusade, you could say.
Okay.
A bunch of land ships basically drove themselves right into the Mekong Dominion and did some serious damage. And it ended up into a very Vietnam-style war in the jungles. And but yeah, they currently have a lot of distaste for the North for that reason, for pretty good reasons. Who did they attack? I'm trying to remember. Mekong City, one of the outliers. Young, I can't remember, but yeah, there's been a lot of fighting that's gone on in the jungles there, and I would not want to go there if I were Northern.
And well, also, we discussed this earlier, Colin. They have a Asian type of feel to them. I know it's not like really okay. That's what I was gonna point out.
Yep.
They have a kind of an Asian feel to
Now,
them.
it's important to note that a lot of the cultural affectations that you see on Terra Nova are not the same as what you see here today, because this is 4,000 years in the future. All of the cultures that we know and recognize were completely obliterated and chewed up and jumbled together during a brief but nasty ice age on Earth. All of the cultures got mashed together near the equator and then slowly were able to spread back out as the glaciers receded. And then they went out and colonized all of these planets. So the Mekong Dominion, while it has all of that sort of influence, it would be wrong to say that it's based on China or it's based on Japan or it's based on anything like that. To the point where I believe that they have I don't know if it's in the Mekong Dominion or the Southern Republic, but there's a theme park in the South that is called Japanland. And it's about going back to mystical feudal Japan. And that's their attitude. That's like their relationship. It's like ancient history for them, but they draw on it as cultural symbols.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So, yeah. So when you see that, like, for example, a lot of people, Badlands, Wild West. There's a lot of Wild West themes and things like that. The Wild West themes of like Badlanders walking around with big revolvers and cowboy hats and stuff like that was literally a fashion trend in the late 1890s. And it's now considered gauche and past its time. But it's definitely in the inspiration there. But yeah, all of that sort of cultural stuff is very 50th generation down. And it's like us taking on Roman or ancient Greek sort of symbols. We're not really connected to those things. You can trace your line back there, but we're not really connected, and we're taking it on because we like the aesthetics and we think it's cool.
Yeah, that sounds like the Mekong Dominion for sure. Next, we have the Eastern Sun Emirates, the ESE. Now, the only thing I know so far about this is probably one of the weaker states, just because it has like fewer high technology industries and facilities than the other Southern leagues, but they heavily rely upon mining and metal production. And as far as I know,
it's where most of the metals come from.
Would you think they would be a lot more powerful because they like metals and stuff? That's what's used to build their military and all that. So you think they would have be more powerful than what they're described in the lore?
That's mostly due to the rulers of the Eastern Suns. So a little bit of prehistory on the Eastern Suns. So during the colonization efforts, there was a merchant ship that crash landed in the region. Each emir or ruler from the Eastern Suns is descended from a crew member of this ship. And the patriarch or matriarch, depending on who it is descended from the captain of the ship. And they keep a stranglehold on the entire economy with an iron grip. Like they rule it like nobody's business.
They rule the school.
Jeez.
And it's only because of that that the Eastern Suns have always been a poorer country.
That and the rampant corruption.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah. And when you have a line of rulers that have gone back hundreds of cycles, if not more, then they're just going to, and Joe Bob, your descendant, is going to get the power regardless of his capability. He's going to do everything in his power to keep, more power.
Yep.
Which is,
I could just imagine like someone just being like, oh, like I'm from this heritage. And so what was he on the ship? Oh, he was just a plumber. Or like, oh, he was just a paper delivery boy. But yet I have more power than you because of that.
Yeah. Because my ancestor was a ship cook, I get to be a ruler.
Yes, and the culture of the Eastern Sun Emirates is varied. It is highly stratified. It is There's a caste system, I suppose it is, where if you're a commoner, you're a peasant. You're tied to your land, you're tied to where you are. Moving from place to place is difficult, and there is no justice system that really applies to you. Slavery is legal and wildly popular. There's all kinds of slavery that goes on there. The rulership is highly feudal. An emir will parcel off duties to petty nobles that the emir can remove, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. Draconian is a very good word for the Eastern Sun Emirates, but it's not that all emirs are bad. They're all totalitarian dictators, but some of them recognize the fact that they need to be good to the people in order to actually survive and thrive. So some of the places in the Eastern Sun Emirates are excellent, wonderful places to go, even though there's that caste system. The northern part of the Eastern Sun Emirates, closer to the border, I will say currently, depending on where you are in the timeline, but is enjoying a little bit of a rebellion from the Emir of Basal and the nearby emirs, who are in open insurrection against the Primarch and are basically trying to form a more free society. Whether this is due entirely to the Emir of Basal being some sort of, like, maybe the real Emir was killed and replaced with a CEF spy, that kind of thing. Who knows? But the Emir has basically been in a bitter, horrible internal war. And the Primarch doesn't want to have the Southern Republic or the AST or the militia involved because it's a slight on the Primarch's honor. But I believe that the Southern Republic has basically come and said, no, militia's going in. And it's just horrible fighting in the north of the ESC.
Yeah, and I assume all the states contribute a portion of their military to the Southern.
Yeah.
It's like the Northern Guard, yeah, the militia.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the military like for the Eastern Sun? Is there anything unique about their way of fighting, or they're just more feudal and that's it?
You want to talk about that?
Most of it's literally house armies for the emirs, as far as I'm aware.
Are they like over glorified? Do they have like cool pedaz on them?
Depends on the regiment. If the Emir will probably have a pet regiment that they love, and that'll be if outfitted with the coolest gears and the best equipment, and they're the best pilots. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of just crap that they need to maintain in order to fulfill their obligations to the Primarch and Strathclyde, but they're just going to be crap.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So I might be wrong. I don't know what you think about that there.
Oh no, it's just mostly, yeah, because they're it's going to be wildly varied depending on what the emir's whim is. Serve me well and you'll be rewarded. Serve me poorly, not so.
It's also one of the places that you're going to find slave regiments.
Ooh.
Where you'll see that kind of in the penal legions of the Southern militia, but the slave regiments are different because you don't do your 10 years and then you're out. No, you're a slave soldier, so you're fighting forever until you die. Some of them are actually gladiators.
Wow.
That's if I were making an army of the ESC, I would have a duelist and it would be a gladiator. Because gear gladiators are definitely a thing, and normal gladiators. That is a common and popular blood sport.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, no, it's like when we say feudal, it's feudal.
Yeah, it's interesting that they, with the South, they're so like willing to just put random people into a gear and just say, "Yep, just go and fight for us." Part of me is like, that's kind of nice if you're impatient and you don't want to do the long process of becoming a good pilot. Frick, it seems like the South just here's a crappy gear or a decent gear and go have fun.
Just give us a second so we pressure washer the inside from the last guy.
Yeah, exactly. It just shows how cheap or gears can be produced, because it definitely seems like they just don't, like they just produce so many gears that even a regular peasant can just hop in one. Yeah, I know there's like some training, obviously. It's like driving a car or more complicated, but that's how I view it.
Turning
And
the
that's what
neural
I like.
nets is a big thing.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the South. It seems like it's very, and I assume their vets are very like more, how should I put it? Well, the North has more training, but I feel like with how much in-house fighting the South has, you have this weird thing that goes on where you have all these unexperienced pilots, but after just battling and stuff, the strongest survive, and you end up getting these really powerful pilots.
I love that. That's amazing. That's yeah, all this infighting. No, that's just getting combat experience. I love
Yeah, it is
that.
literally.
Yeah. I was going to say a thing. Yeah, just talking about the amount of war material that the South produces, because they produce a ton. That's actually one of the major mechanisms that the Mekong Dominion has used to wrest control of the AST out of the Republic's fingers, because the Mekong Dominion manufactures a ton of war material. And if there were ever a split now where the Southern Republic tried to do anything to the Mekong Dominion, they would lose a ton of manufacturing capability. So they've maneuvered themselves into a position where they are basically unassailable in a military sense. It would be suicide for the South to try it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can't go swinging without having them go bye-bye.
That's right.
and
Very
it just
clever.
seems that, and also just from my reading, the South is very strong. And the only thing that's really stopping it from just totally conquering the North is the fact that all this in-house fighting is just it just takes up so much resources and time that like it's hard for the South to just have control over everyone. And I feel like once they do have total control and everything is good, then the South is like this giant,
It
unstoppable
is.
force.
Yep. I'll let you respond to that because that's obviously a place for you to stand up on your soapbox.
Because, yeah, we would be the unstoppable force that took control and took care of Terra Nova and all of its
Absolutely.
citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone would be happy. There would be no more
Everyone would be,
conflicts.
no, because everybody would be under Southern rule and everybody would be happier.
Absolutely. No, it's correct. The North is not as powerful in a number of ways. They don't have nearly the size of the army, though again, their training is better and they like the actual type of war material produced is quite different. The North produces a lot more of their high-end technical vehicles. And that goes back into kind of the difference in design philosophy. In the North, all of their base chassis are full of very good equipment. They tend to be really good base chassis. Whereas in the South, the base chassis tend to be a lot more generic. They don't have all of the super advanced stuff in it. So it's easier to produce. So they produce a lot more of it. So in the South, they just have, again, bulk. They got tons and tons of bulk. They've got vehicles that you can throw slave soldiers and prisoners and things in and push them forward and take ground. They're good at that.
That and one of the most important lessons of history that we've learned here on Earth, quantity has
Numbers
a quality
matter.
all on its own.
Exactly. Numbers count. And the South has learned that. And the North knows that if the South ever were to properly unify under the Republican flag, it would be a very hard fight for the North to actually keep them off, which is why they're secretly supporting the rebellions in Basal. And it's why they've been funneling resources to terrorist organizations and doing stuff like that to keep the South unstable so that they can't all collectively decide to go kick in the North's door. Fortunately, they don't really need to do a lot of the work because in the South, a lot of people just like a lot of the client states do not want to be part of it, really. But yeah, it's an interesting situation for sure on Terra Nova. Even without Earth, forget Earth, just situation on Terra Nova between the major players, super interesting.
Yeah, it reminds me of World War II, where how America produced a lot of Sherman tanks, or I think it was the Sherman. I'm pretty sure where it was very cheap to produce, and it wasn't as great compared to the German tanks or the Russian tanks, but we just produced so many that, and they're so easily repairable that it just led into this quantity aspect.
Yep. Though I would point out in that I think the Sherman's reputation as being a cheap tank is doing the Sherman a disservice. I think it's a great little tank. It does its job really well. And yeah, just the industrial might of America came in. And that's very much what you're looking at with the Mekong Dominion and the Southern Republic. They have industrial might, and they're just pumping out basic vehicles that are pretty good, and they do their jobs, and that's all you need them to do. So they do great.
Just got to get that job done.
That's right.
You don't have to have any frills or whistles or buttons or bells. You just got to do its job.
Yep.
Until hilariously we talk about the Cayman, and then no.
You've got to have one exception to the rule in order for the rule to be proven.
Oh yeah, and that's what's great about heavy gear is there's always a few exceptions to rules.
Yeah, they do a very good job of making it a realistic sort of a feeling,
which I very enjoy.
Right.
It's it's really, really good. I guess the last one we can talk about now, I didn't realize that this is not really a state anymore, is the Humanist Alliance.
Absolutely worth talking about, though.
Oh yes. Still, we can still talk about them because they still were part of the AST.
That sounds like a Republican talking.
Yeah, because it's obviously Gropius started it, which kind of started the South in general. So yeah, how does the Humanist Alliance? Oh, they're probably the most unique, and I assume why they got destroyed or whatever. Jane, you can explain what happened to the Humanist Alliance.
Yeah, we'll explain that here in a minute. But so for a little bit of background, the Humanist Alliance was completely caste system.
Super creepy.
Super, super creepy. When you're a kid, you're not a part of the caste system. You're just a ward of the state until your education is complete. Once your education is complete, then you're elevated to one of the castes. And if you're a commoner or the what is it, the technician class? Or is it the workforce? I can never remember what they specifically call it.
There's commoners, protectors, and proctors.
Yep.
Okay, so the commoners, they did all the menial labor, all the crap jobs that nobody really wants to do anyway. That's your lot in life. That's all you'll ever be, is just a lowly commoner doing menial work, doing all the manufacturing jobs or warehouse jobs or whatever. Now, then they were basically lorded over by the upper class, and all of the legislation, all of the rules, all the laws, everything was all passed by the upper class. Nobody had a say. Nobody could tell them what to do. It was terrible.
And the glorious Southern Republic ended the tyranny of the upper class.
That gets complicated. That we'll get into.
I will point out before we keep going here that Gropius basically modeled the Humanist Alliance on on Plato's Republic. And in the Plato's Republic, the state is a dictatorship of philosopher kings. So the idea is that if you're not a philosopher king, if you don't have the aptitudes to be a philosopher king, and you're not a warrior, you're a commoner, and you don't have the mental aptitudes or cognitive abilities to really rule your own life. So you're taken care of. There's a lot of kind of paternalistic head patting that goes on with that. And so that's kind of
look at you, commoner. You're so good.
Yeah, you're so adorable.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want the burden of rulership or deciding what to do with your life. We'll take care of that for you. Don't worry about it.
We got everything for you.
Yeah, the protector class is the military. And it's fairly small. It's not a large class. And that's the truth with the Humanist Alliance in general, is that the bulk, by far the bulk of society was commoners. But they didn't have any sort of uprising for some reason. Very strange. Interesting that, huh? But
it's also the police force as well.
Yes, they're the police force, they're the enforcers, they are the muscle. And because Plato decided back in his writings that you needed to have a warrior's virtue in order to be a leader. If you had a warrior's virtue, you were head and shoulders better than anyone else. And you had that bravery that's required to be a complete person. So that's what the protectors are. If you're a proctor, it means that you have that warrior's virtue, but you also have all of the facilities of rulership. So the proctors also have that in theory. In practice, who gets to decide who's a commoner or a proctor or protector? The proctors do. So it's nepotism, basically. And if they like you.
Is the proctor
Very
the
much
same as
so.
maybe I'm
preceptor? Yes, it's a preceptor. That's
Oh, okay. Yeah, because those are the scholars and the leaders of the alliance. Okay,
Yep.
sweet. And what kind of led to their downfall?
Before we get to the downfall, so a lot of the advances in technology came from the Humanist Alliance. Once they were quote unquote conquered, most of their technology and all the stuff was shared with the Southern territories. So most of the Gear Strider mechanisms you get from the Humanist Alliance. Like 90% of them literally came from the engineering and technical know-how coming from the Humanist Alliance.
Same with the Heteroi.
Yeah, like the hover technology that they reverse engineered was literally because of the Humanist Alliance.
Yeah, they were the only ones that were able to do it.
Hilariously, also, the Humanist Alliance, when Earth and the CEF showed up, found out that the basic line troops for the CEF, or the Grells, were hypno indoctrinated, hypno trained, and they could do indoctrination of their troops and train them to do various tasks through this hypno training. And the HAP drooled over this. They wanted to learn how to do this so they could keep the populace in check, especially the commoners.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Which is scary in and of itself, because it wouldn't just be head patting anymore. It was send you to a re-education center, hook you up to a hypno training thing, and boom, you have no more problems with society anymore.
Dang.
You just fully believe in the party line. Cats. What about the cats? What about the cats?
You don't know? Okay, so anyways, there is a standing law in the Humanist Alliance, one of the cities in particular, but it's all across the Humanist Alliance, where it is illegal to kill a cat. You cannot bar a cat from going around. Cats are just allowed to go where they want, do whatever they want, because 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 cats that are just strays wandering around have been webbled. I don't know if you're familiar with the term webbled.
Basically elevated, basically.
I mean, it depends. Basically, webbled is a generic term used on Terra Nova and Caprice for someone who's got some sort of a direct neural interconnection with a piece of hardware. And with these cats, the optical centers of their brains are connected to a radio transceiver. And they're basically spy cameras for the state without recognizing it.
Yeah. Any dissent is detected, it's usually through the cats, because they're watching and they're the eyes of the state.
Oh my gosh.
They have cat statues everywhere, and you're supposed to be nice to cats and do good things. And it is a absolute terror state. If you want to talk about a terror police state, like absolute dystopia, it's the Humanist Alliance. They are
very much so.
Terrifying.
Jeez. It's funny because when I was first reading about the Humanist Alliance, they're like, oh, they seem like the nicer like state.
They do.
No, they seem that way. But again, we're talking about the South, where there's some creepy stuff. It's all icebergs in the South.
Yeah, they
you see the tip.
The state is your friend. Don't you trust your friends, friend?
Jeez,
they take care of you and make sure that you're in the correct cast.
Yeah.
Don't you trust?
You guys might be a little too old for this, but one of the animes I saw when I was younger was the Avatar series, and they explored this city that kind of had the same idea where it was like this different caste system, and if you were like rebellious or whatever, they just snatched you up and then they like indoctrinated you into like
Pretty
thinking.
similar.
Yeah, so
Very, very similar.
And hypnotraining actually plays parts here and there across Terra Nova. For example, you remember last session we were talking about the fact that Thor Hutchinson, the second follower, the leader of the second follower church, was assassinated. It is revealed that the assassin was hypnotrained and didn't actually intend, wasn't really in control of his actions when he did the assassination. And they don't know who hypnotrained him.
I wonder who.
It could be the South. It could be the CEF. It could be a dozen different actors. It could be the UMF who was looking for a good war. There's so many people that could be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
That's
times.
crazy.
Anyways, please continue with the Humanist Alliance and their downfall. I think you're at that point now.
Okay, so we're getting to the downfall now. Now, this is the fun part, and I say that in air quotes. So every cast member has a certain genetic code. They're almost genetically engineered, not quite, but very close to it. So South figures out, hey, these guys could be trouble for us, and they might take all their technology and just leave the Southern territories. That's not a good idea. And backing up a little bit, Southern Republic has spies everywhere in every one of the member states.
You got to talk about the long plan.
They were spying on the Humanist Alliance, and Humanist Alliance were thinking about not being part of the Southern territories anymore. And that's not okay. So they came up with this idea that they'd come up with basically a virus that would kill off certain people of a certain genetic predisposition, i.e., the rulers, all the proctors or preceptors, and just snuff them all out in one fell swoop. Because Humanist Alliance weren't dummies, they decided to spy on the Southern Republic too, because you don't trust your master. Because what could the master be up to?
I want to jump in just briefly here to talk very briefly about the long plan.
Okay.
Because when the Humanist Alliance, when the Humanist Alliance was conquered originally, obviously that was a disruption to their perfect society. And they didn't like that. They didn't want to be ruled by anybody. But they also knew they didn't have the strength to. So they began what they called the long plan. I think they called it the long plan, might have been something else. But they basically have been working covertly and in a very coordinated fashion from that point on to subvert the Allied Southern Territory and destroy it from within. And they were actually starting to make inroads when all of this started to happen. So, anyways, please continue.
Oh, yeah. So, Humanist Alliance caught wind that this virus had been created, because the whole destroy within thing becomes a plan within a plan. And of course, Southern spies, being what they are, find out that the jig is up. Can you guess what happens when the jig is up? Dayron, or anybody?
You die.
Yeah, you die. So they unleash the virus, kills off all in one fell swoop, kills off all of the leadership of the Humanist Alliance and the proctors. So all the commoners are left without director or anybody to lead them or tell them what to do or give them little pats on the head.
Wow.
So they're just in, I think, what was it, like a couple of weeks? They were just all dead.
That's crazy. And was it like under the rug type of thing that happened, or was it pretty obvious? Did everyone knew what happened during this, or was this kind of secluded?
as far as I know, but probably get corrected by Colin. As far as I know, it was, oh no, what happened? Oh,
there was some stuff going on in the Humanist Alliance before then. There was actually a rebellion and resistance that was going on shortly thereafter, because not all of the protectors or the preceptors died.
oh yeah,
Some
that's
of them
right.
survived, and a lot of them actually survived in the mountains to the east of the Humanist Alliance, which actually borders with New Basal. With Basal and the rebellions that are going on at the same time over in the Eastern Sons Emirates. So it was basically just a huge area of rebellion as the protectors, who are.
I think he cut out.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, but it was just few of them survived. They go to the hills and just, but the South kind of went, oh no, what happened? They're all dead. Oh no, what a shame.
Jeez, yeah, and I assume the Southern Republic just where's like, oh, here's this power vacuum. Here, commoners, let's morph you into the Southern Republic.
Or you're going to be more part of the Southern Territories. We'll take care of you. It'll be okay.
Yeah, they kept the same social structure with the commoner still being an underclass that was ruled over. They just changed the rulers. Though, again, after that rebellion, and like after it became clear that the Humanist Alliance was lost, they weren't going to be able to retake it, the surviving the surviving protectors and preceptors, because there were some preceptors left, and they went to Fort Neal Motor Works and to the forming New Coalition. So you'll notice that the New Coal stuff has a very Southern look to it. And they also have some very high-tech stuff that all of a sudden appeared out of nowhere. That's because that's all of the Humanist Alliance people.
Survivors going up and helping them rebuild technology.
That is a mind explosion right there for me. Because obviously I love New Coal. I've only read a little bit on the lore, and yeah, just knowing that makes sense, because I always ask myself that question. Okay, it's interesting that they have this weird South and North mixed feeling to them, and I want to know how they got to that look. And yeah, that makes so much sense now.
They're because
yep.
Yeah. So the question I want to know is this still considered the Humanist Alliance? Oh, okay.
It is basically a protectorate now at this point. It is technically a separate state on the books, and they technically still have representation in the Curia, etc. But the actual representatives are dead because they got sick and died, and no one's voted in to replace them. And the leadership has been taken over by it's an interim government, of course. They're very interested in self-rule, and they wouldn't dare want to dictate law to all of these people in this separate independent state that just so happens
never.
No, of course not.
Never.
Yeah. So it is technically separate, but in reality, it is a jurisdiction of the Southern Republic.
Yeah, I like that. That's very cool how it's, yeah, we don't want to totally take control of you guys and conquer you guys, because that leads to probably more rebellions or whatever. So we're just going to infiltrate your society and just slowly integrate our laws into it. Like, I assume the commoner won't really notice it. It will just be a few changes here or there.
As far as I know, there's a lot of general confusion amongst the commoner class, but because the Southern Republic has come in with very clear guidelines, and they haven't made huge changes, they've just put their people in the positions that the preceptors were in beforehand, and the cops are now Republican. That's the only real difference as far as they're concerned. So it's been confusing, but they've managed to maintain continuity, to my understanding at least.
Mine too.
Okay. And Gene, since you play South, do you consider human? Because I see a lot of people talk of the Humanist Alliance in the South as having 4 states. Do you agree with that, or do you really just consider the South as 3 states?
So I'm going to make a really good friend of mine very upset. No, I do not consider the Humanist Alliance part and parcel of the South anymore. They're done. They don't have a say. They don't count. They're just people. Like they're barely a country anymore. So they don't count. We're down to 3 and we're good.
Yeah. They're technically a state, but they don't have an army.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Do they
We got all
still
the good
supply
bits and we're cool.
do they still supply people for their militia?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
they just don't have their own standing army. That makes
exactly.
sense.
Yeah, they don't. They may develop one in the future, but why would they need to? They have the Southern Republic that is more than willing to help them protect them in their hour of need.
Yep.
Nope.
It's okay, citizen. The Southern Republic will take care of you.
Yeah. And that's all the states, which I'm pretty sure that's it for the South. We're going to now get into probably some of the more main events that the South has taken place in. Now, if you want to, you can just go back to the North video if you want a more deeper dive into it. That Colin kind of explains that includes the North, like the Vincent War, for example. But we're going to briefly go over it and just point out some of the key things the South has gotten involved in. So I don't know if one of you guys want to start the lead on it on probably the first conflict. Would it be the Vincent War, or was there a conflict before then that we should talk about?
Is there something you want to jump in on here?
No.
I know where I'm starting.
Go for it. Run.
The 2 unification wars in the South.
Okay.
That's why the Southern Republic unified the South.
Yep. We need to talk about that.
There were numerous campaigns. It certainly wasn't a kind of a quick thing. It continued on for a very long period of time, and the CNCS formed before those wars were finished. By the time the South was ready to actually take on the North and take on the idea of global conquest, the North was ready, and that's why they stopped. It's not because they didn't want to, it's because they looked up north and saw, oh, they're ready for us. I guess we can't do that. They also looked at the logistical problems of crossing. But actual conquest of the Humanist Alliance and the ESC was not an easy thing by any stretch of the imagination. The territory of the Humanist Alliance it's not jungly, it's much more plains, and it's a very pleasant place, really. But it is a very defensible location, especially when you have the peacekeepers that are there. Because again, they're a pretty skilled army that do nothing but train. So they're very good. And then you have the ESC, which again, pretty corrupt, not excellent troops. There's a huge range in actual talent, and they're not very well coordinated, but the territory is so hard to get through. When you're looking at swamp and jungle and all of that stuff, that's the ESC, especially to the south. Once it gets to the northern ESC, it's more open, except for the Okavango swamps. But the fighting that went on in the Mekong ESC border is almost entirely tropical jungle and is just a nightmare. So it took a long time to actually take the ESC to the point where they were willing to submit. And that's where the Southern character of war formed, was in those conflicts, because their actual strategic doctrine is very different from the North. It is not about it's not traditional battle lines. It makes as an assumption the idea that you don't have anything to rely on but what you have at hand. The idea of calling for support is a convenience at best. You basically have to be able to handle whatever is in front of you with what you've got right now. And that's just due to the nature of fighting in the jungles and swamps. You may not be able to call for support. And like, we'll get into it with the actual vehicles, but the actual designs of the Cobra and the Iguana and things like that, even though they're more suited for, like, they're built with the North in mind, they were built with the philosophies of fighting in the jungle. And that's, again, how the Southern structure happened. So that took a while to actually finish. I think it took 60 cycles for the 2 unification wars to actually finish. After which point, the next big point of conflict would be St. Vincent's War, which hit the South as hard as it did the North. The Mekong Dominion, with their very strong family-based society,
we're super pissed about that.
Exactly. And guess who's the northern counterpart, like directly across the Barrington. No, actually,
Oh,
it's the
no.
Western Frontier Protectorate. People
Oh.
who are also super pissed off about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it was a bad time for them for the same reasons, and I won't go into too much because I did last time. But the South was very impacted by that, and it really hardened their opinions of the North. It really wasn't the case that, like, that's where it changed from being the North is a place we want to conquer because we want to rule the world. It became much more about we want to conquer them because they're a bunch of bastards, and they just screw those guys up there. That's what it became, and that's across the world. That war really set that tempo.
And was it like, 5% of children dying is like a huge number. It doesn't seem like that large, but when
Enormous.
it's enormous. And
especially when some
Yeah.
of the cities you're dealing or city states you're dealing with have like 50 million people.
Yep. Just think in
Or
every
millions of
classroom,
people.
someone dies. In every child's classroom, somebody's dead.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so was most of the fighting really done between Mekong and the Western then during that war?
No, it's just those were the two cultures that were the most polarized. So the fighting in the Barrington Basin was brutal because that's where the Mekong Dominion and the Western Frontier Protectorate faced off.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and was it like a stalemate with this? Like towards the end? Okay.
Yes. Both the North and the South fought until they were exhausted. Neither of them had the ability to project force at that point. They couldn't really push their armies past, because it's hard to communicate just how inhospitable Terra Nova and Badlands are. Like the Barrington Basin gets up to 55 degrees Celsius in the day. And they have 36-hour days, so that's 18 hours of plus 50. Yeah, try pushing a military force through that. That's not going to be easy. And they also have air power is significantly reduced because of all the silt and sand in the air, which is hell on just machines of all kinds. You destroy machines. It's a brutal environment. And
real quick, for Americans who use freedom units, 55 Celsius is 131 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep. Water boils at 110.
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah, imagine driving through that for miles.
Yoggers have air conditioning. You better hope, at least.
I hope it keeps working.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why when you look at the infantry, which I think is pretty awesome, they have these cool bio suits of armor. Like they're fully covered head to toe. It's
called turtle shell, is what that it's called, turtle shell armor. So after St. Vincent's War, there is a long period of skirmishing and strikes called the Sandstorm Strikes, where they're basically probing and testing each other. The South learns a lot more about how to face the North at this point, and everyone knows that this is gearing up, pardon the pun, into a big war, which is called the Judas Syndrome, which is what we would call the interwar period between World War I and World War II, where everyone knows that a war is coming. And there's huge armies built up on all sides. They all know it.
Or Cold War for more modern terms.
Cold War.
Same thing, really.
The difference being is that in the Cold War, there wasn't this assumption there was going to be a huge war. There was still always this idea that maybe we can avert that if we have enough, if we have enough guns, then we can avert it. We just have to have more than they do.
Okay, right? It is more closely to World War I. There's going to be a dance. We just don't know when.
Exactly.
And we're all going to have a partner.
Exactly. And that's what the Earthers dropped in on. That's what the CDF dropped into, is the middle of that. So just imagine World War I, it's like Franz Ferdinand is 2 weeks away from getting shot. Everyone's building massive armies. And then Earth shows up in the middle of it and declares war on everybody. It's a bad idea. It was a bad time. Bad choice for them.
Yeah, see if it was like, it's just... who was it? I think someone on the Discord said it. It's like a substitute teacher coming in on a school fight. Like the CF just didn't know what they were getting into.
Yep. And they stepped in the middle of a big giant dance and went, oh, whoops.
Bad choice. Bad choice. The South did particularly well they did as well as the North did in the War of the Alliance. Both the North and the South have their kind of horrible battlefields. The South has the dubious honor of hosting a very Stalingrad sort of a fight. There's a city-state in the Badlands bordering the South. It's technically not southern, but it's southern aligned, called Baja. And Baja was the site of basically Stalingrad, basically. The CEF rolled in, they took most of the city, Southern defenders managed to hold on to a sliver, they pushed back and forth for the entire context of the war. And Baja was never lost, and they eventually pushed the CEF out before the surrender, but Baja did not exist after. The Baja that exists on the maps is now New Baja, and you can see the ruins of where old Baja was. Baja is considered a cultural icon to the South. That war, there so many people died, and it was mostly the Southern militia that held it. I wish that I had a little bit more knowledge on the regiments of the South, but there are Southern regiments that were absolutely forged at Baja. So there's your little.
You think the civilians have a drink called a Baja Blast over there?
Yeah, probably.
And probably shed a single tear as they drink it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's yeah. And as far as after that, it's just we're on to the second invasion of CEF. And
there's one more in there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You cannot ignore the events of the Interpolar War, because again, the second follower, Thor Hutchison, was assassinated. The North decided that it was the South that was responsible, because of course it was the South that was responsible.
Yeah, it's always the South.
And they basically, like, there are parts, like the North is highly trained and very disciplined, but even then there were some regiments and units that went rogue and just decided to start a crusade. And then Norgard did their best to rein them in and managed to, but the North decided that there has to be a response. So they had a response, and it was the Interpolar War, where basically the entire North boiled up and out and invaded. They pushed rather deep into the Eastern Sun Emirates because of the fighting that was already going on in the Basal area. And I believe that you were also already seeing the collapse of the Humanist Alliance at this point.
Yeah,
that had just started. So that was happening at the same time. So think of all the fun that was going on. I've got the map right here. Why don't I actually look at it?
I did not realize the Humanist Alliance fell that recently. Thought it was like a long time ago.
No, it was really recent.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of South players still view the Humanist Alliance and view it as 4 states, right? Because it wasn't just until recently. It's almost like Nicole's situation, how Nicole is very new, but everyone kind of refers to it as Port Arthur in a lot of cases. I think that's the same with the Humanist Alliance, where they're basically gone.
The Humanist Alliance was annexed in 1938. The Interpolar War started around 1937, right around there, really.
Right around there, yeah.
A long war, but it was annexed, and just there was war all over the planet at that point. So they pushed into the Humanist Alliance, the former territory of. They pushed into the Eastern Sun Emirates. There was a whole lot of fighting in the Mekong Basin. The Humanist Republic, fortunately for them, is protected to a large part by the Southern Alps. So they never actually really pushed that deep into there, but they did push into Aquitaine, which is one of the northernmost Southern Republican cities. And that is the city that I remember. It wasn't in the Mekong Dominion. That jungle crusade happened. It was Aquitaine. And that's the events of the first Heavy Gear video game, was the invasion of Aquitaine.
Oh, wow. I never even noticed that.
Yep. So that's where that lines up. That ended again with the explosion of Peace River and the sudden call for a ceasefire. And that leads into the second war for Terra Nova.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And do you guys have any information as far as, because I know we're in this weird stage where the fighting's about to start or it's like happening and you're on the tabletop, you're supposed to create that narrative yourself, but anything notable with the South that happens during the second invasion?
Unfortunately, my knowledge of that's a little lacking.
Yeah. And was there anything from the first war when CF came in that you guys can think of that they were very notable for? It goes into like tactics per se, but I think actually wasn't it the South that I think they like rewired the satellites to fire upon the CF? There's something that has to do with the lasers of the satellites I was reading on.
So again, because they have Port Oasis, which is the capital of the Southern Republic, it's still a working spaceport.
Mm-hmm.
They have managed before the second, was it the second war? They managed to basically launch a bunch of satellites into orbit. But
are you talking about the Hermes 72 network?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the leftovers from the first War of the Alliance.
Yeah. So yeah, in between right before the second War of the Alliance, they managed to launch all these basically hunter-killer satellites into orbit, just in case CEF ever came back.
Yep.
And sure enough, CEF comes back, and they managed to shoot down several of the spaceships or landing craft as they were approaching the planet.
Yeah. Shortly before the landing, like a couple cycles beforehand, there was again something called Operation Icarus, where the CEF did a blitz drive-by of Terra Nova and bombed the crap out of anything that could threaten orbital superiority. And the two capital cities of Port Aurora and Port Oasis in the north and the south were basically the only ones that really managed to survive it. Everything else got bombed flat, but they managed to maintain enough surface to orbit capability that they were able to put on some defense. As for the actual war, the War of the Alliance, or the invasion, there are three recognized fronts. There's the Mekong front, and the Esperance front. Esperance front happened right around Port Oasis. The Humanist Alliance troops, actually, they had a detachment there at the same time. Of course, the Humanist Alliance at that point being basically not the Humanist Alliance, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were there, and there was a push both towards Gropius and Port Oasis there, because the two are quite close together. And the CEF landed basically smack in the middle and did their best to push in with both. The next one is the Pacifica Front. That one is a landing zone right between Thebes and Strathclyde, so the capital of the Eastern Sun Emirates and one of the cities of the Humanist Alliance. They landed in between those two. And in the Mekong front, they dropped basically in the northern Mekong basin, heavily jungle, and they threatened Loyang, and they were trying to push south, but they encountered something called mountains, which prevented them from actually approaching the capital.
Oh man.
Yep.
So yeah.
What's this? Why can't we pass through?
It turns out that hovercraft are not excellent at going up sharp inclines. You need aircraft for that. But if there's anybody who can handle that kind of terrain with a hover tank, it's the CEF. They are the CF is terrifying in ways I cannot even properly describe. They're really strong.
Yeah, and what I like about the South is the fact, and this is just in Terra Nova. From our previous episode on the North, everyone it isn't like Star Wars where you just have like a whole planet that's just all this one terrain feature, right? In the South, even though there's a lot of swamps and jungles and stuff like that, it does have a diverse ecosystem that you just touched on. There's mountains, there's plains, there's still the stuff you see in the north. You just have more jungles and swamps, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like Vietnam tactics almost. And it goes into their play style a bit where you have a lot of indirect fire. I'm not too sure if that kind of correlates with the jungle warfare, but
yes and no. But yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's basically the lore. What other kind of things you guys want to put in before we talk about the tactics and stuff like that?
Well, how about I start by talking on the topic of Southern strategic doctrines as are found in historical context, because the South changed quite a bit when it moved towards the living rule book. So does that sound good? I'll talk about that, and then you talk about the changes and the things that have happened to pull away from that. Sound good?
That works.
Cool. Okay, so the Southern doctrine, as I said, and as you just recently confirmed, is very much born of jungle warfare. It's very disruptive. It doesn't rely on having a strong, cohesive battle line, and it assumes that you're on your own. So there's a lot of independence in every military unit. Usually, like the regiments typically have a particular role, just like they would in the North. But when you get down to cadres and sections and things like that in the South, you have a lot more independence and generalist structures. So you're going to see Yagers and Cobras and iguanas all together, so they don't have to really coordinate that much. The main method of getting the work done in the North is to have a big line of hunters marching forward with grizzlies in behind, providing fire support, cheetahs running around doing recon, etc. In the South, you're going to have your Yagers in small teams that are infiltrating and surging forward in a disruptive fashion. Close in behind that, you're going to have Cobras and other fire support elements that are there to do problem solving for the nearby units. And they're all surging forward together. If they encounter strong resistance they can't deal with, they go around it, go away from it, etc. They're not interested in holding ground. They're interested in breaking things, getting through lines, going over, destroying supply depots and cutting supply lines and things like that. So you're going to see recon elements like the iguana working much more as a skirmisher that is occasionally calling back and asking for fire support from that nearby Cobra. And that's why the Cobra at the time wasn't outfitted for very good long-range duties. It used to have a heavy rocket pack in that particular case, which is a much shorter range. It's much more in the range of a heavy autocannon than anything else. And it's designed to basically hustle in behind the Yagers, and the Yagers will basically provide covering fire and will pin down things for the Cobra to smash. And that's how those units will advance forward. Cobras will often be fielded just in a big block of Cobra. Here's 5 Cobras. Have fun with that. Whereas in the North, you're going to see 2 Grizzlies, 2 Hunters, and a Jaguar as like bodyguards for those 2 that are doing their specialist job. Much further back, providing nothing but fire support. Whereas the Cobra is hustling right along with the line and doing all the hard work that a regular line would do, just with bigger guns.
Okay, so it's almost, I don't want to say overwhelming firepower, but it definitely seems like you said, the Jaegers do the more reconning, scouting type of thing, and the Cobras are like the big hitters. They're like, yeah, let's just demolish it with Cobras.
I would say that don't discount that Jaeger. That Jaeger is the same as the North. It is the workhorse of the Southern militia and the Southern armies. It is there doing most of the work, most of the killing. most of the actual push is just Jagers. The Cobras are there for, okay, we just encountered a hard point. We've just encountered, okay, the North has brought some tanks in. Let's smash them. And basically, the Cobras are a lubricant to make the flow of offensive force Jagers easier. That's what they're there for. The Iguanas are going to be operating basically the same as a Jager, but they're going to be doing it in a much more a lightweight support role, whereas the Jager is going to be doing a much more line role. They're going to be more harassing and stuff, and basically calling back to the Cobra, say, hey, you need to take care of that, or you need to do that sort of thing. And then the Mamba is one of the more interesting units because they are a perfect condensation of the Southern doctrine. The comparison between the North and the South is the Jaguar and the Mamba. They are the archetype for a commando special forces top tier unit. The Mamba is better than the Jaguar in every way. Better armor, a little faster, better guns, but has one problem. In the old system, it had a weak rear facing. If you get behind it, you pop it like a balloon.
Oh.
So yeah, and that's why you see Mambas is a little bit better now, because they improved. Like the Mamba was better, and they just got rid of the weak rear facing because it was a complication to the game that they wanted to get rid of. So now it's just better. But back then, the big idea was that you were amazing on the offense. You could push and hit things and just go. But if they got behind you, if you failed to account for what your enemy was doing, you were going to lose all those expensive units like that. So it's perfect condensation of the Southern attitude. Do it once, do it, get in there. And if you don't get it done, someone else will. And that's certainly not going to be you.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And it combines, like, the North-South tabletop game was always endlessly interesting because you'd have the North with these big, sturdy battle lines. And then you'd have the South come in. And the South is, you're not quite sure where they're going to push. They're going to push. They're not going to hold ground. But that means they don't have to hold ground. They're happy to give you territory and let you overextend yourself. So you have to be super careful, because feinting or baiting or doing any of these things is just, that's what the South does all day long. They're going to tempt you with something. You're going to step forward. You're going to leave a gap. They're going to push 15 Jagers through it and 3 Cobras, and your entire battle line is going to collapse. So they're devious and very, like I said, very fluid. So if you want to have a very dynamic battle line that is not concerned with holding territory, but is much more interested in breaking off chunks of your enemy and splitting them apart and basically shattering their nice fancy lines, that's the South. Super interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They've blown me up so many times.
Yeah. Huh. And I guess like the way their gears look, it's pretty obvious when you look at them. They have a more rounded look to them compared to the North, which is more boxy. I'm not too sure what the design theory was. The only thing I could think of was like, because of the jungles and stuff like that, you probably want more smoother surfaces to get by things, but I'm not entirely sure of how accurate that is.
They don't go into a huge amount of detail on why that is. It's basically an older design philosophy. If you look at the original Walker plans that the South tried to come up with, like the Raccoon or things like that, they're all basically bubbles with legs. You got eggs with legs. That's what they were. And then out of frustration, because the Walkers were always incapable. They were always too slow and too fragile and not armored enough and couldn't carry enough weight. And they were frustrated because they saw in the North, the Hunter was walking around and doing way better. And the actual designer, I can't remember the guy's name, nearly lost his life. They're like, yeah, you better get this right this time. So they stole it. Yeah. And they made it round because that was their design. They liked that's the design philosophy that they had with the previous gears. And that's how they came with that philosophy, and it's stuck ever since. So it's their look.
Yeah. Gene, do you like the rounded look, or are you more of a square fan?
Answer correctly, citizen.
Oh, I guess Gene
Mhm.
is offline at the moment. I know your
Oh,
answer,
no.
Colin. Uh,
The rounded shape is like the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much I like the rounded look until I started painting up the new coal. Now the new coal is a weird mix of like boxy and roundedness, but the rounded stuff I do, especially the heads, the heads look pretty cool compared to the boxy look that you see on the north. That's just I'm starting to like the rounded look. I used to hate it, but then now I'm starting to like it more and more.
Come join us with the Southern Territories.
Oh, I know. Just all this lore. I'm like, man, the South is very interesting. They seem. I'm not gonna diss on the North, even though this is a South video. I should, but
Go for it. Give me a
Yes,
best. You can
Bash,
take
go
it.
ahead. They're the enemy.
yeah, right. No, I really like the North lore, and but what I like about the South is that they have these weird flaws that just makes it so much more interesting. The North just seems like they have everything put together, but it's like the crazy stuff that happens in the South that seems to make it more fun, more crazy. That's what I'm starting to enjoy about the South. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Probably not Colin, but I do.
Well, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in the north as well, but I'll admit that the crazy stuff in the south definitely takes the cake.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys ready to start on the more tactic
Sure.
side for us?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's
Fantastic.
go on to living rulebook stuff.
Yeah, Living Rulebook.
Great. And we discussed a bit about it in the North video, even the first episode. The South is more indirect firepower, and like Colin says, it has a bit of there's a bit of similarities between the tabletop and the lore, which is pretty good. Also, you can see a bit more all around profiles. Gene, you could probably more elaborate on the general South player style, but I think that basically hits it in the coffin.
I'm going to agree with you, but use better terms, not to be mean or anything. But nothing, almost nothing in South, almost nothing is specialized. Everything is very versatile and very jack of all trades. Even your lowly Jaegers or iguanas can do multiple things. You don't just do one thing with a specific gear. And
Yes.
that's just so awesome.
Yep. You get a very versatile toolbox. You don't have to
Yeah.
have all kinds of complicated things. And that's always been the case with it. The South, you can get a lot done with just your basic stuff. Whereas with the North, like your gears are technically more capable. That's not quite true in the current state of the living rule book. But the North is technically they're superior vehicles. They can handle a lot more within their role, but only within their role. You need to coordinate them a lot more than you do in the South.
But yeah,
Yeah,
South, you don't have that problem as much. And it's so great.
which is interesting because that kind of does, Colin, when you were discussing about how the military regiments are more like secluded and more like independent, you could say. I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with what the tabletop is explaining because I feel like your gears have to be more generalist, be able to do a bit of everything when you're independent. You're not as coordinated.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to rely on fire support from a support company. It's right in your section. It's right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
like you
you
said,
may
the
not be
Cobra
able to
does all
call
the
that.
yeah,
Yep.
the Cobra does all the work. You said that, and generally the Grizzlies are used more as a, like you
Yeah.
said, a fire support that just
The
yeah.
small tabletop really makes a difference to how the armies play. If you were playing Living Rule Book with old tabletop scales, you'd be playing on a 15 by 15 table, and your Grizzlies would be way off over there because they don't have to get closer, and they're in danger if they get closer. So they'd be way off in a corner, lobbing shells happily all the way across the table, whereas the Cobra wouldn't be able to reach those Grizzlies as they were firing. That's the big difference. So the South, the toolkit that they carry with them is very versatile, but doesn't have kind of the range or the power of the North. And that is the same theme throughout. If you're just talking about recon, cheetah is going to be faster than an iguana, but that iguana is going to be able to fight in the battle line. That cheetah is actively discouraged from doing that.
Yeah. So if you guys are just coming to the South video, we're gonna be a little bit faster than the North video, but basically I'm going to go over through some of the basic units that you see in the South list so you are familiar. One thing that you will see in the South is how they name things. Now, the Jaeger is its own unique name. It's like the hunter with the North, but generally after that, you see a lot more reptilian names that Colin explained, like the cobra, the iguana. So we'll get into that later on in the video.
Viper, caiman, almost every drake, almost everything is lizard based. There are a few exceptions like the Jaeger. There's a couple more exceptions that I can't remember off the top.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of French.
Like the Fer de Lances.
Yeah, Fer de Lance. Yeah. The Jaeger is an interesting one just because the people of the Saragossa Plain, which is part of the Southern Republic, are German descended, so they speak German there. And German for hunter is Jaeger.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's just the Southern version of the hunter.
Yeah. And we don't have to get too deep into it, but yeah, the South actually copied the designs for the hunter, which
they stole them.
Yep.
We didn't steal. We used correct spies at the correct time.
Creative borrowing.
That's it. You got it right there.
Yep. So
you will be rewarded later, citizen.
Yeah. And Gene, you will probably be the main one as far as tactics because you do play the army. So we'll be referencing you for a lot of the tactics for these.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and start with the Jaeger. It's basically the same stats as a hunter. So 6 points, movement of 6 inches, armor of 6. It's a 4-2 with 1 action, a gunnery skill of a 4+, piloting skill of a 4+, and electronics warfare of a 6+. Light autocannon like usual, light rocket pack, light anti-personal grenade launcher, a light hand grenade, and a light vibro blade. That's its basic stats. The biggest difference between the hunter and the Jaeger is that it comes with a light hand grenade opposed to a Panzerfaust, which is where you start to see the indirect because the light hand grenade can be tossed. And it's very similar to the hunter where you have, for example, a command Jaeger, which is their comms version of a Jaeger. You also have a stripped down Jaeger. You have a para Jaeger, which is your airdrop Jaeger that you see. And you have your ECM variants. So there's basically the same amount of variants that you see with the hunter. There's a few differences, like you have a bit more options. Like I think one of the more unique options I see is a medium flamer, which I'm pretty sure the hunter does not get access to. They might have. I'm not too sure, Colin. Do you know if the hunter gets?
There's the wildfire variants for the hunter. I think that's in the current version. But traditionally, the South is the only one that really uses a flamethrower because it is a barbaric and uncivilized weapon, and no civilized force should use that as a weapon.
They're for jungle fighting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a jungle weapon. So it's there's the Flamjager, which is always fun.
Just wanted to add that not only does the Flame Jaeger have a flamethrower, its light rocket pods also have fire.
Yeah, they're
also incendiary rockets.
Yep.
So you're kicking out fire at all ranges with this thing, and
it is beautiful. A universally despised vehicle. Everyone hates it because you have to be a sociopath to drive the thing. Nobody wants to drive it. They're horrible. Yeah, they're pretty miserable. I want to talk briefly about the Blitzjäger. I don't know if that's in the current list or not.
Yes, the Blitzjäger is the one with the light anti-tank missile, a light autocannon. Yeah, it's basically your anti-tank.
Yes. Now, you recall the North, I talked about the fact that your standard Northern unit is head hunter, assault hunter. That's the Northern unit. And that's what gives the North its character, because it's all about area control. And that snub cannon is excellent for area control. For the South, your archetypal GP squad is Command Yager, Yager, Blitz Yager. So they have that light anti-tank in pretty much half of their GP squads. It used to be that was a one-shot thing, and that's where the Southern character came from. You will go in with a GP squad and you will absolutely wreck face. You will smash things super hard with that, but you have one shot. Make it count. After which point, you're just some guys with light autocannons, which is still useful, but you get your one shot. And that is archetypal of how the South works, where you're going to go in, you're not going to be able to hold territory very well because you only got that one shot. But you are going to be able to smash things really hard.
Yep. And I just want to add, in Living Rulebook 3.0, it's been changed to ammo 2. So you get 2 shots with it.
That is absolutely Southern character. That is exactly what you want. You want to have that army hit super hard, but you're doing it once or twice.
Yep.
And you're
so
out.
Your GP squad has the option or the ability to take on a tank at a playing field.
Yeah. And at range is the big thing. You do that from far away, whereas the South or the North can do that, but they have to get right in the thing's face. And that's difficult for them to do with their kind of more coherent battle line. So it promotes, you can definitely be aggressive with that squad of hunters because you can go out with that snub cannon and try and hunt down that tank. But you're really tangling at that point, whereas the South can go in, just smash that thing and get out. And they're really built well for that.
Just chuck a bunch of hand grenades everywhere.
There you go. Hand grenades all over the place. But yeah, I really recommend that any South players, if you want to get a feel for what kind of traditional Southern doctrine is, get yourself some GP squads, get them Blitz Jagers in there, and that's how you play. Just start with a core of those and build off of that.
Yep. And the light hand grenade is very good. Like, I like how they balance between the Jaeger and the Hunter, because the biggest difference between a Panzerfaust and a light hand grenade is the light hand grenade it's actually damage 8, but it's only AP 1, but it also has a blast of 3. So it's just going into that whole aspect of indirect fire, which I very much enjoy about the South. I think that's like a big thing with them. Gene, how do you kit out your Jaegers? Is there any, besides the basic Jaeger, any specific ones besides the Blitz Jaeger that you can think of that?
I'm the barbarian jungle fighter, so I love the flame Jaeger. I'll almost always take at least one in a GP squad, just for added hilarity. If I don't, then I'm taking one of the Blitz Jaegers, and just for that big punch from that anti-tank missile.
Yeah.
Because autocannons are good. They're great. They're gonna hurt people. But you hit somebody with that anti-tank missile or that just once, they're probably gonna go on tilt pretty quick.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Next week have it's called a Sidewinder. Is that a variant of the Jaeger, or is this a different model? Do you guys know much about the Sidewinder?
The Sidewinder is different.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and go into because sometimes these names, who was it? I think it was like in the North, they have like totally different names instead of just adding a keyword in front of it. Like the Tiger, I think they had, there's like white cats and stuff like that for the same name. But the Sidewinder is a movement of 6, armor of 7, 4/2, 1 action, gunnery and piloting skill of 3+, and a EW of 6+. Comes with a medium autocannon, medium rocket pack, light anti-personal grenade launcher, and a light close combat weapon. It seems like a variant of the Tiger. I don't know, Gene, if you want to more elaborate on the Sidewinder.
I couldn't tell you if it's a variant of the Tiger, but it is. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was away from the computer briefly there. The Sidewinder is I believe it was Territorial Arms, was basically trying to make a new general purpose gear. And they were in a period, it was the 1880s. So again, that's the Sandstorm strikes and the beginning of the Junus syndrome. So you're looking at military buildup and a lot of new stuff being brought out. They were in a very safety-minded design phase. So a lot of redundancies and pilot protection and stuff. And that was the Sidewinder. It is very good to its pilot, but it's not an amazing vehicle. It's okay, it's good. It is definitely a heavy trooper and very popular, but it spent a good amount of time as a prestige combat vehicle. And I suppose you could say it fills a similar niche to the Tiger today, where it used to be that prestige vehicle, but now it's dated. It's past its prime.
Yeah, it definitely has more variance than the Tiger, but
yes.
like you said, it doesn't fill the role as like a Jaeger or like the Black Mamba, but you're more elite gear if you want.
It actually has a medical harness inside. If you are injured or something like that, it will inject you with combat drugs and keep you alive and keep your blood from leaving. Does a lot of pilot support if you're injured. It's got a complete medical system on the inside. All kinds of nonsense in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty neat.
So next we got is the Black Mamba. You guys have talked about this before, and
mama.
Yep. So it has a movement of 7, an armor of 7, a 4/2, 1 action, piloting and gunnery skill of a 3+. It has an EW of a 5+, medium autocannon, light rocket pack, a light anti-personnel grenade launcher, light vibro blade. It has the arms, agile, and airdrop roll. So I actually compare this because I think the Black Mamba is the comparison to the Jaeger. Holy crap, the Black Mamba is actually better because it's not a 3/3, it's actually a 4/2, so it's actually a lot tougher. I think the Jaeger possibly comes with a medium rocket pack. I need to double check, but
the Jaguar.
Yeah, the Jaguar.
Yeah, it should be light.
Okay,
in 3.0 or not.
I'll double check, but it seems, and they're both the same point. So you're basically just paying for a slightly better Jaguar. Yep. You want to go ahead and discuss more on it, Gene?
Dude, if you got a hole to fill in literally almost any, so we'll have to talk about this in a later episode, but they have UA codes of skirmish, fire support, and recon. So you need a big gun in your recon combat group, Black Mamba is your boy. You need to fill a hole and with a cheaper points or a cheaper point model and a fire support combat group, Black Mamba is your homie. Like, they fill so many holes and they're so versatile and so good. And
excellent.
They have airdrop and agile, so you can have them speeding up real fast.
It's funny because I keep trying to compare it, but I think you just playing the South, you just get a 4/2 and a 3/3. There's not really much of a difference. It's just more, it's easier to cripple a Jaguar than a Black Mamba, which I think that's awesome. It's a good reason to play South. If you like those airdrop elite gears, then Black Mamba from the South is just the better way to go.
Yeah, and I think that's because the Mamba used to have better armor. Like when the armor system was there's a lot more fine detail in it. It had better armor, but again, it also had that weak backplate.
Yes.
Which balanced it out between the North and the South, so that the North was a weaker vehicle, but didn't have that vulnerability. It was technically a better commando because it could take fire from all sides and be okay with that. Whereas the Mamba, you hit super hard, but if something gets behind it, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think if I were to change the rules, the only thing I would add to the Black Mamba is the vehicle trait, I'm pretty sure, because I think that gives you a +2 dice on the rear arc. I think that would be a good balance change because it would actually make sense in the lore for its back. Yeah.
I actually don't mind the idea that they've re-engineered the Mamba and fixed that problem, because this is what the South is about. It's about insurgency. It's about basically pushing into enemy territory with no support and taking fire from all sides and being really good at that. And the Mamba is very much the Southern gear. and it should be really good. I think that they should be doing a little bit more to make the Grizzly that northern vehicle, because the Grizzly is much more of the iconic northern vehicle than the Jaguar is. Jaguar is good, don't get me wrong, but it should really be the Grizzly that stands out in the north.
Yes, that's true. Next, we are onto the Iguana, the fast skirmisher type. So it's a walker ground of 8, armor of 5. It's a 3/3, 1 action, 4 up gunnery skill, 3 up piloting skill, 3 up EW skill. Comes with a pack gun, light rocket pack, light vibro blade. Comes with the arms, agile, comms, ECM, ECCM, which is aux, has a sensors of 24 inches, and it has a target designator. So the big thing between this and the Cheetah is that the Cheetah is faster by 1 inch, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Cheetah's 9. So that, and also the Iguana comes with a regular light rocket pack. It's not 6.
Yeah.
And trying to think what else. Yeah, that's basically it. That's the biggest differences. So you're getting a slightly better gun, but you also are a bit slower for the Iguana. Yeah, Gene, you got any tips for the Iguana?
Well, that's the thing is you don't want the Iguana roaming up too fast. That's why it has all of these bells and whistles. Like the sensors 24, huge deal, especially when it's in your fire support sections. Oh, guiding all those indirect fires, because that's what it does. And you don't want it, it's not going to be shooting its gun. Let's be honest, it's not.
It's got better things to do.
It's got so many other better things to do. Hey, Cobras, light this target up for me.
Yeah, exactly. Though the thing is with the Iguana is that it can serve in the firing line. Just
it can,
well.
and that's what's also what's hilarious about it is it, like you said, it can be flexible to serve in that firing line. Like some of the variants will help.
Oh yeah.
Literally nail that home. Like it can be in shooting a gun, helping out the Cobras to take down a target.
Yeah,
it's not going to.
You need Chatterbox. You need Black Box.
Chatterboxes.
Hate them. So much hate.
So what's a better combo in the game? Is it the Iguana with the Cobras, or is it the Cheetahs with the Grizzlies? That's like more of a better combo. Are they both?
I only put Iguanas with Cobras because that's where you want them.
Exactly. Yeah, he's talking what's better, the north or the south at the recon fire support combo. So you can sing the praises of the south here, and then I'll respond.
We're not to the Cobras yet, but
that's true. Let's do it with Cobras.
Okay, we're gonna have to come back to this conversation. Before we do, though, I want to point out the Iguana Gunner, or the hunting Iguana. The Gunner has a light autocannon, plus all of these ECM sensors, hoobajubes that it has. Or the hunting Iguana has a light rifle for sniper duty.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
So again, it can support the big guys shooting the guns. You don't necessarily want it to do it all the time, but it can help out occasionally.
Cheetah can do that too.
You hush. Yes.
Next we got is the Analysis, which has a walker ground of 7, 4 armor, 3/3, 1 action, 4 up gunnery skill, 3 up piloting skill, 4 up ECM. Comes with a heavy, I think it's called infantry support weapon.
Infantry support weapon.
Yep. Rocket pack, light hand grenade, light vibro blade. Comes with arms, agile, sensors 36 inches, comms, ECCM, and a target designator. Is this a different model? Like sometimes I wonder if
this is completely different. This is not a variant of an Iguana. It is completely different. And if you want cheap help for or cheap target designator for your fire support sections, yeah, this is what you want. If you don't want to pay the almost 10 points, 9-10 points for an Iguana, then yeah, This is going to be your budget option.
Yeah, because it's 6 points opposed to like I think it's like 9 or 10 for the iguana.
Yeah.
So it's a bit cheaper, and yeah, it's slower, but you also have that higher sensors range, which doesn't matter at that point because it's like, cool, I get a 36-inch sensor range instead of the 24, and I only lose 2 inches of movement. It's obviously weaker because it has armor 4 as well. So yeah,
I'll
okay.
just say one thing about the Anolis, just a historical note. It was the first recon gear that the South tried to make, dedicated recon. And it has 3 features which are very important to remember that aren't really portrayed. There's now a refit. That's what you get at the table. You don't see the original Anolis. Because the original Anolis had, as features, a cramped cockpit. So the pilot was crammed into this tiny little box. Has defective active sensors in a recon gear. And has random shutdown. So we'll just randomly shut itself down sometimes. So
Yep.
not a very popular vehicle for some reason or another.
Next, yeah. And next we have the Basilisk, which is a walker around 7, armor 6, 3/3, 1 action, 4/4 for piloting and gunnery, 5 up ECM, comes with a light autocannon, light rocket pack, light anti-personal grenade launcher, light hand grenade, vibro blade, and sensors 24 inches with arms. Seems like another
recon gear for your GP squads.
Yeah. Next we have is a Silver Scale, which is a 7-inch movement, armor 5, 3/3, 4+ across the board for gunnery, piloting, and EW skill. Light autocannon, light rocket pack, light vibro blade, anti-personal grenade launcher. Comes with comms, ECM plus, which I assume is what you're bringing it for. The ECCM aux comes with a sensors of 24 inches and sensor boom with a target designator. I do not know what sensor boom is. Sounds cool though.
This one is fun. Sensor boom, unless they've radically rechanged it, it's got a little sensor on a swing boom. So in the rules in in Living Rulebook, you can change your silhouette for your sensor skill 1 inch up, either up over terrain or forward. So technically your sensors is really 24 inches.
Okay. Interesting.
So you can peek around a corner, go high, hide behind a building, peek up your little sensor boom and go, hi, I see you. And target designate behind buildings.
Huh. That is interesting. Okay.
There are a couple other vehicles around that have that, and it's always a fun thing to have.
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
That's cool. And there's only one version of it, so I assume you were just bringing it for that one purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Next we got is the Copperhead, which is a walker ground of 6, armor 5. It's a 4/2. It has 1 action, gunnery skill of a 4 up, piloting skill of a 3 up, 6 EW, comes with a light autocannon, light rocket pack, light hand grenade, anti-personal grenade launcher that's light, light vibro blade, comes with arms and brawler 1. And has some variants, it has like a medium flamer, has a striking copperhead. My first impression of this, it looks similar to a slightly lighter version of a Jaeger, if I'm wrong. It gets a better piloting skill with 1 less armor. I'm not too sure.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So if you like want to this is probably your more skirmishing type Jaeger if you want to bring it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Or it also makes a good chassis for duelists, which we'll have to cover in another episode, because that piloting 3+
with the Brawler 1
melee with Brawler 1, give it some melee duty or melee specialist duty. Boom, there's your duelist in your force list.
Yeah. Next we got is the Rattlesnake. Wait, man, I'm loving these lizard names. They're great, but
oh wait, there's more.
Yeah. So it's a 6-inch movement, 5 armor. It's a 3/3, 1 action, 4 up gunnery and piloting skill, 6 up EW skill. Comes with a light autocannon, medium rocket pack, anti-personal grenade launcher, vibro blade. If you hear me just say anti-personal grenade launcher or vibro blade, it's usually light. I'll be specific if it's different, and it just comes with arms. That's all I see for the rattlesnake. It comes with 2 variants. It has a Riot Master rattlesnake. So it just looks like another gear that's slightly weaker with a medium rocket pack.
Yeah, it's just another GP gear.
Yeah, it's cheap though, really cheap. 6 points for a medium rocket pack. So if you want to, I think that's why you bring it if you just want to spam some medium rocket packs around. Next, we got the Diamondback, which seems like a pretty big profile because it has a lot of variants. Costs 11 points. It is a movement of 7, armor 7. It's a 4/2, 1 action, 4 up gunnery skill, 3 piloting skill, 6 up electronics warfare. Comes with a medium autocannon, medium APR. I think that's, what is APR again?
Anti-personnel rockets.
Okay. The anti-personnel grenade launcher, vibro blade comes with agile, airdrop, and field armor reduces the damage, I'm pretty sure. Or it
reduces damage by 1.
Yeah.
To a minimum of 1.
That's super good.
Pretty amazing.
And this one has a lot of variants. I'm trying to see if it has any flamers because that's what I'm probably care about the most.
No, this is, I don't think it does. It's going to be mostly helping out fire supports or cheap versions of fire supports. Like, you want to dip your toes into fire supports, here you go.
Yeah, because it has higher armor than usual. It has actually better piloting skill, which is interesting. And the fact that, it has airdrop, the field armor. Yeah, so it's like a
newer player, if they want to dip their toes into fire support, but don't want it to get focus fired or know that it's going to get focus fired, take a couple of these because it'll survive a couple of more turns or a little bit longer.
I think that
piloting and field armor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because most of when you look at the Grizzly or the Cobra, like they have like terrible piloting skill or not as great. So the fact that this has a 3+ piloting skill and you can still bring decent heavy weapons, most of the stuff is medium based weapons, not heavy, but yeah, it's great. And it still has agile, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have is the Asp, which is, oh my gosh, 3 points for that thing.
So dumb. I love this
can on legs.
Holy crap.
I love this thing.
Movement of 6 and 6 armor. It's a 2/4, so you only need to do 2 damage to cripple it. 5 up gunnery skill, 4 up piloting skill, 6 up EW. Comes with a HMG arm and a light hand grenade. Arms and conscripts. Yeah, that seems like you're... Oh my gosh, yeah, you could spam the crap out of those things.
Yeah, you won't do much, but you do so much.
Yeah, especially for that light hand grenade, because it's such a high damage profile. Yeah, you just run up with 8 of those and like just lob grenades at everyone.
I was just going to say that what that one is that's your penal legion right there.
Yes.
Yep.
You have those guys, and then you have some MPs in behind with shields and shotguns, and the shields and shotguns are not for the enemy.
Yeah.
It's for these losers.
And if you don't want an HMG, you can get the light autocannon for 1 extra point. So not bad.
I don't know why you would, but hey,
like the squad leaders can have the light autocannon.
Yeah.
Something like that. Next
we got Salamander, which is another big profile. 7 points, walker ground of 8, 5 armor, 3/3 with a 5 up gunnery skill, 4 up piloting skill, 6 up EW. Comes with a medium autocannon, light flamethrower, medium close combat weapon with a reach of 1. It comes with arms and agile. I think there's something like this in the north that was very similar. It was like this weird like skirmisher type that was actually decent in close combat. And also this is
the Bobcat,
possibly. And actually the Salamander does have a profile where it has climber, which is probably what you're more looking at because it has a medium autocannon with that profile.
Pretty good profile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's nothing much to say about it unless you got something, Gene.
No, I just find the Riot Master hilarious.
Oh shoot, I never even thought about the Riot Master.
So the Riot Master has a medium close combat weapon with reach 1, light frag cannon
Oh
on top of
yeah.
that. So it's going to get up there and it's going to get real close. And it's going to use that superior piloting or better piloting skill to use that medium close combat weapon.
Yeah, that is good. We got a Viper now, which is a walker ground of 8, 5 armor, 3/3, 5 piloting skill, 4 up. Sorry, 5 up gunnery skill, 4 up piloting. EW of a 6+, has a light rifle, light Panzerfaust, light Viper blade, comes with arms, agile, and brawler 1. There is multiple variants of the Viper, but generally it just actually I think it's the water Viper that is pretty unique. I'm pretty sure because it has sub of 6. If you want to more explain onto that, Gene.
Oh Lord.
Even has climber.
Actually don't know that one. I think it can be submersible. Am I incorrect?
The Viper series, there's the Desert Viper, which is far more common, and that's what you'd see. It's basically a long, like it can travel long distances. It's designed very much for desert environments. It's mountain capable gear.
Oh, I see it.
But yeah, the Water Viper is like I said, there's numerous variants, and they're a really weird sort of thing. They're like commando recon, almost like a force recon vehicle. And the Water Viper is notable because the Black Talons have basically scooped up a whole bunch of them and are going to be using them to go to Atlantis and fight the Earthers.
So actually, I should
Under
point
the
out some
sea.
differences. I thought the Viper was it does have the light variants with the Defender and Riot Master, but it actually does differ when you go into the desert and water version because it actually increases its armor to 7, so it's not a 5, and it's a 5/1, which is, oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
They are super rugged.
Yes. And there's a version of the Desert Viper that gives it climber, which is great. And when you switch over to the water, you basically give up climber for sub 6. And I think that's why you bring the Viper. I don't think you will ever bring it for the light variants. I'm pretty sure you bring it for the tough 5/1 variant. And I know Nate, I don't know if you guys know Stalius from the Discord, but he's been waiting for the Viper model to come out. And I think they said they're going to come out with the model this year. And it looks sweet. It has these giant like torpedoes on the back or something.
Yeah, the water
giant water jets.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to buy some of those when they come out.
Yeah. Next we got is it the adder or otter?
It's like the snake.
Or the British comedian.
Yeah.
Or that too.
It's walker ground of 6 armor. It's a 5/1 as well, which is awesome. 1 action, 4 up gunnery and piloting. EW of 6+. Comes with a medium snub cannon, medium rocket pack, medium vibro blade, arms with field armor, and it looks like it only has 2 variants. So it has the long fang adder, which is I think it just comes with a light autocannon at that point. But yeah,
now it turns the rocket pods into links. They're linked.
Ooh, that's right. So you get that +1 die. Oh my gosh, that's really good. Ooh, I'm happy.
They're okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to justify the 9 points because you're paying like 3 more points than your Jaeger to get a tougher chassis with field armor that also comes with medium rocket pack that's linked. I think actually, you know what? For 3 points, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
it's originally designed for field commanders and like valuable people for the militia. The regular soldiers, yeah, they can have whatever, but the commanders, they're very expensive, and they're probably like the children of senators and things like that. So got to keep them protected. So that's what that goes for.
Yeah. And next we are on to the Cobra. Everyone's favorite. So 12 points for the spinning Cobra for the original one. Walker ground of 5, armor of 8, 4/2, 1 action. It has a gunnery skill of a 4+, piloting skill of a 5+, 6 up electronics warfare, comes with a heavy autocannon, medium rocket pack, medium
artillery rockets.
Yep. Oh my gosh. LGM, MG. Is that medium machine gun? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
yep, Vibroblade, Arms, React Plus. So now that I look at the Grizzly compared to the Cobra, I can actually see where the combined arms feel comes into it because the Cobra actually has a lot more weapons to deal with different situations.
Again, we're seeing that no specialists in the, well, very few specialists in Southern lists. We're seeing very versatile toolbox gears.
Yeah. And I think I need to look at the points. I'm pretty sure the Grizzly is a bit cheaper, and that's why you're paying a bit more points for the Cobra. Cobra is for that all around taker.
That was the change that they decided on when they converted over all the weapon stats and vehicle stats and things like that, because the Grizzly just didn't have the same punch that it used to.
There's a lot of variants to the Cobra. There's an artillery Cobra that's, well, it says unreleased. I don't know what that really means.
Don't have a model for it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's some good stats. I'm just looking at it. They even have a flame Cobra.
Yes,
Cobra.
We do.
Oh my gosh.
You get them with some Flamjaggers and just do horrible things to people.
Because you have artillery rockets that also are incendiary. You have anti-personnel rockets that are incendiary and a heavy flamethrower. Why not?
Yeah, you got to paint one up all black and you paint the name Broil King on the front. Barbecues.
Yeah, it even has resist to fire.
It needs it because it's constantly coating itself in it.
Oh my gosh, they're
war crimes. That's the war crimes brigade right there.
Yeah.
However, my absolute favorite chef kiss variant is the jungle mower or the jungle mower support.
Yep. So good.
Jungle mower go brr.
That's always been the name for it too. That's always been its big gun is the jungle mower. So cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because you have both the jungle mower and the jungle mower support have rotary cannons.
And they're an ideal all in one package because you don't want to go face that thing face to face because it's going to tear you apart with that rotary cannon. But you want to at the same time because otherwise it's just going to smash you with all of its support fire. So yeah, it's an excellent vehicle.
Yeah, geez.
Because now you want to be. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead because the Cobra's pretty important. So
I like those two are my absolute favorite out of just an amazing artillery indirect fire support platform. And now we're coming back from that conversation from the Iguana.
Yep.
Yes.
The Cobra Castle.
Because the Iguanas are going to be target designating for all of his little squad friends or his combat group friends that are all Cobras. And they're all going to light you up with all of these weapons.
I have faced that more times than I can count. It's so unpleasant.
It's not fun for anyone to face. And I love changing one of them just to the jungle mowers or the jungle mower supports just for that heavy rotary cannon. So if somebody gets close, you will light them up.
Yeah,
with that rotary cannon.
Yeah, if you don't know what the heavy rotary cannon is, it's damage 8, has a burst of 2 and split 2s. And I think it's the burst 2 that's really important because that's 4 dice base plus you're more likely going to get stable through a command token onto it or something.
And or standby brace.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Because
absolutely.
More than likely you're going to stand by any of your Cobras. And we'll have to go into this further detail at some other episode about some of these shenanigans. Because the Iguana is going to go the combat group's going to activate. The Iguana is going to walk forward or have something in its sensor range, light them up, target designate. Everybody's going to chain off the Iguana and just pound something into the ground with all the artillery rockets or guided mortars.
Yeah, it's something. One of the strongest builds in Living Rulebook. One of the strong. I've faced the Cobra Castle I would say dozens of times, but that would be underselling it. I've played tons of games against Cobra Castles, and it's like assaulting Castle Grayskull. It's really hard,
And
and
you're not
they
going to
are.
have fun doing it.
Yeah, be prepared to roll a lot of defensive dice because you're going to have 15 pie plates land on your head, and it's a very painful thing to do. And that's one of the points where the Southern Doctrine really changed. And again, that's because the table size and the scale size change. Because the Cobras didn't used to have the range that they could do that. They used to have to keep hustling in behind the Yaggers and all of the recon units that were feeding them information because they didn't have the range. So they would be doing that while walking in behind their Yager friends. Whereas because the table's smaller and the scales are smaller, they can just park in a corner and just obliterate everything on the table.
Yeah, and I assume they just did it for simplicity to give it some of the same weapons because if they wanted to go more into lore aspect, their ranges, like range bands on their weapons, would probably be a lot shorter than the Grizzlies.
Yeah, the weapon on its back used to be a heavy rocket pod.
Yeah.
And the heavy rocket pod was a super punchy weapon, but didn't have a huge range. It was good. It was better than the other rocket pods, but it wasn't huge. Whereas that mortar could reach all the way across the table, actually.
Yeah. Next we got is the King Cobra, which is very similar to the Kodiak. It's movement of 5, armor of 9, 4/2, 2 actions, 3+ gunnery skill, 5+ piloting skill, 6 up EW. Comes with a medium particle accelerator, medium rocket pack, light artillery rocket, LGM, HMG, medium anti-personnel grenade launcher, medium vibro blade. Comes with arms, brawler 1, and vet. So it's basically the same as a Kodiak, but it has way more weapon options by the looks of it. And was the Kodiak also a close combat beast with the brawler 1?
Yeah, they're very similar. They're both really close combat beasts. They were both built. It's funny because they were built in the same time period for the same purposes. Both of them were built in that same kind of end of the War of the Alliance tank killer sort of phase. Very similar to one another, but developed completely independently.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very almost a copy of the Kodiak. Gene, do you have any advice? How many are you bringing Cobras versus King Cobras?
If somebody wants to face Castle Grayskull or Castle Cobra, yeah, I'm taking one of these bad boys. Definitely taking one. They're gonna put you back, but because it's got that particle accelerator. Somebody comes close to your Cobras, they're going to get lit up. That King Cobra will light them up.
Yeah, because it seems very much like how the Grizzly and the Kodiak, where the Grizzly, it's more used as a reactive piece, but also can be used offensively. It's just generally good. And then the King Cobra and the Kodiak are more like that because of that extra action they get and the better gunnery skill. They seem to be more of that offensive piece to just push up.
Very good at assault.
Yeah.
Plus, that veteran really helps out. Like you get an automatic skill point every turn to reroll anything.
Yeah. Next we got is the Python and the Badlands version of the Python, which is a Walker Ground 5, armor of 8, 3/3, 1 action, gunnery skill 4+, piloting skill for 5+, electronics warfare for 6+, comes with a heavy autocannon, medium artillery rocket, medium rocket pack, LGM, vibro blade, arms, and react plus. It just seems like a cheaper version of the Cobra. It's slightly easier to cripple. I'm trying to think if there's anything super unique about it. I don't know if you guys.
Nope, it's a smaller version of a Cobra.
Yep. All right. Moving
Pretty
on to
much
the next. Yeah.
Same thing with the boa.
I'm excited because you get this in the Nicole roster, and I actually like the boa a lot. I'm going to be bringing like a couple of these. So they're 15 points, which is pretty hefty. Armor of 9 Walker ground of 5 inches. It's a 5-1 with 1 action, 4+ gunnery skill, 5+ piloting, 6-up electronics warfare. Comes with a heavy autocannon, medium rocket pack, LGM, HMG, medium vibro blade with arm reach 1. Comes with arms and react plus. It just seems, well, you're paying more points because it's just a tougher version of a Cobra, basically. It has 5-1 and 1 extra armor. Or actually, I think, is it 2 extra armor? No, it's 1 extra armor.
No, it's 1.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a decent amount of variants of the boa. There's even like an arena version of it, which is pretty cool. That comes with like Brawler 2. So
yeah, the Storm Boa is hilarious.
Yeah, what's the big
medium
thing?
Rotary laser?
Yeah, okay, now I see it.
Hey, you like that rotary cannon? Yeah, this is even better.
Yeah. We got the Carmelian next for 13 points, 8-inch movement, 5 armor, 3/3, 1 action, 3 up across the board for gunnery, piloting, and EW. Light autocannon, arm silent, pack gun, arm silent, rocket pack, damage 6, vibro blade. You can guess who this is, but arms, agile, airdrop, comms, ECM, ECCM, target designator, sensors 24 inches, stealth, and vet. Whew, that is a lot. Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. And to be honest, for 13 points, that's pretty solid. I think it's roughly, you're paying for a more expensive, like iguana with just more stuff.
It is literally a modified iguana. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we already discussed how good stealth is in the North video.
Yeah, because if you want an iguana turned up to 11, here you go. But you're paying for it.
Ooh, Snake Eye. I like that name. So Snake Eye, 14 points. Walker ground of 7, 7 armor, 4/2, 3+ piloting and gunnery, 1 action, LLC, arm that's silent, a vibro blade, arms, agile, airdrop, stealth, and vets. Same type of idea with the, what was it? The Black Mamba.
It's the full name of the gear is the Snake Eye Black Mamba. It's a Mamba variant. That was the star on the box for Heavy Gear 2 and is almost the poster child of Heavy Gear. Very cool vehicle. Super cool.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
They have the Green Mamba, which is, I think that's just a different, it has a medium autocannon. Yeah, they just call it a different thing than the Snake Eye. Yeah, nothing's changed with that. Awesome.
Because Green Mambas are sneakier.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, why do they call it a Green Mamba? Next, we're on the Fer-de-Lance. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm not French, so you guys have a better way.
Our apologies.
Yeah, 14 points, a 7-inch movement, 7 armor, 4/2, 1 action, 3 piloting, 3 gunnery, 5 up EW, medium rifle, light anti-tank missile, light anti-personal grenade launcher, vibro blade, arms, reach 1 with arms, agile, airdrop, brawler 1, and vets. Gene, you want to hit this up because I'm trying to figure out what's great about this guy. Actually, he comes with vet, so I think that's pretty important.
Brawler 1 and vet with reach 1 light vibro, reach 1 vibro. So they're piloting 3+. So that's really awesome. Your base 3 dice, you don't have to be in base-to-base contact. You can be 1 inch away and stab someone.
Yep.
Secondly, you're a veteran, so you get an automatic reroll every turn. Period.
Oh my gosh. And it's airdrop. Ooh.
And agile.
Yeah. So you can just
piloting 3.
Start up 24 inches up the board or something like that. And then you have enough speed to just move up and stab someone.
You really want, because there's more to this. So they also have rifles and light anti-tank missiles. So they can stay at range and shoot at somebody because they have gunnery 3+ with veteran.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can Yeah, you can be very versatile with them. Do you want to shove them down somebody's throat and watch them cry? Or do you want to shoot something at range, throw in like an iguana or some other recon thing, help them with their guided anti-tank missiles?
Yeah.
I
It's
can
again
jump in
that
with a
southern.
little bit of context on these guys too, because they're super interesting. If you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, jump in.
The fer de lance is illegal for anyone to own and operate unless you're part of the 1st Republican Regiment. They're the 1st Republican Guard. They are the most elite of the elite in the Southern Republic, and they're the only ones that use the fer de lance. Now, in current time, they've probably expanded production and expanded things, but they are the creme de la creme. They are the best of the Southern gear technology vehicles. They are amazing. They are typically painted in parade ground colors, not in camouflage, because they are basically the personal guard of the Prime Minister of the Southern Republic. They're the honor guard for the Southern Republic. So they show up, they stab everything, they have the best weapons. They had a reputation of being useless because all they did was stand around Port Oasis and not do much. But it turns out they're actually really good. They're actually really good.
Yeah.
Have to be the honor guard of the prime minister.
Exactly. So that's what you're fielding is the 1st Republican Guard going out there and stabbing things. So paint them nice. I think they're painted in black and red with gold trim is the kind of the standard way that you're supposed to paint them for the 1st Republican Guard. But again, it's likely that production has expanded somewhat to some more regiments out there, but they're a very selective, very elite vehicle.
Yeah. And next we got the Gila. I think I'm pronouncing that. It's a 12-point Walker Ground 7, 6 armor, 3/3, 1 action, 4+ gunnery skill, 3+ piloting, 5 up EW. Comes with a heavy autocannon, light frag cannon, light rocket pack, anti-personal grenade launcher, medium Panzerfaust, Viber blade with arms, reach 1, comes with arms, agile, brawler 1, field armor, and vet. It actually, to be honest, I actually like this profile because it has a lighter profile to make the cost cheaper, but it comes with the heavy autocannon and like a lot of equipment. So you can, yeah, it's similar to the Koala, I want to say. Am I pretty close on that?
Not entirely, but roll-wise, probably.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
basically
right.
an iguana that has been beefed up to basically get in close with enemies and stab them to bits and blow them up at close range. That's what it was originally designed for.
Yeah, I was only thinking of a Koala because I think the Koala was just a light skirmisher with a ton of heavy weapons. So that's where I got the idea from. And then
this one's a little lighter. But again, it's been apparently it was called a bit of an armadillo monster. Just what they did to the iguana to make it into that offensive. Yeah, it's a cool little vehicle. I really like it.
And we just have the military police versions of some of them. We saw them in the north, so we have a Cobra military police, Iguana military, Black Mamba. You're basically getting a lot of. It's only one profile. I'm not going to go through them, but all you're getting with those is that you're getting the shield and brawler 1 trait generally. If you want to make a police force for your Kong Dominion or something like that,
this is how you do it.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's smart. Yeah, just run a bunch of those
gears. You have a whole bunch of those terrible asps, those walking trash cans with machine guns, and then you just have a line of MP Cobras in behind.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Side note, I used to have a play group here. One of the players would only take MPs. Literally only take MPs, and it was the scariest thing to face.
I've had similar. It was a Paxton player who was playing gladiators. It was gross.
Because you couldn't hurt them until they hit you with their giant gear-sized nightsticks.
Jeez. Oh,
now we're on to the fun part.
Yep, everyone's favorite. So the Drake, the big boy, 27 points, Walker ground of 6, armor of 10. It's a 5/3 with 2 actions, gunnery skill of a 4+, piloting skill of a 5 up, and the EW of a 5 up. Comes with a bazooka that is arm with damage 10, AP 5, heavy rocket pack that's linked, medium ABM. I think that's
Airburst.
Okay, airburst, a heavy flamer, heavy frag cannon that's fast turret auto, heavy SG snub can. No, that's not snub
Spike
cannon.
gun.
Spike gun. Oh,
It's the big blade in the shield.
oh, geez. It has an arm reach of 1. Comes with Brawler 2, shield, resist fire. Oh, okay, so I'm just going to say something about the model. I think the model is like really ugly. I know I'm going to get jumped for that by a lot of South players when I walk out of my house today, but
yes, you will. You're going to
think
go to a re-education camp.
Yep. And be taught to love the Drake. Because yeah, I never liked the model, but looking at the stats, I prefer the stats more than the northern variant because it plays into the South's role of it plays a bit with everything. So it can definitely shoot you and it can definitely come up to you and whack you in the face.
Stab you in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any specific loadout you like, or all variants are pretty good?
See, hang on a second. I gotta find it again. Because I'm not a fan of the bazooka, just the generic bazooka it has.
Oh, I assume you're a fan of the heavy rotary cannon, huh? That's probably.
No, so the hooded Drake, the medium laser cannon one, is just awesome. And there's the heavy rotary laser from the Blazer. Like, I love the hooded Drake more than I love the Blazer. And I know I feel dirty for saying that. Because it's a linked medium laser cannon.
Yeah. That is nuts. Jeez.
Like, I will literally take this and shove it down people's throats. Like, just walk up the board and go, deal with me now, fool.
Oh, yeah. Next one we got is actually, I'm sorry. I know the Drake's pretty big. Is there anything crazy that we also want to see about the Drake besides it's a OP monster?
Oh no, dude, just this is your centerpiece, one of your centerpiece models. It's so big and so gorgeous, despite what our northern allies say or northern aggressors say. This is a beautiful model. It looks like a dragon. It looks scary. And so, side note, in the fiction, this is one of the few, when they were coming up with the prototype for the Drake, they literally had to give the pilot or the test pilot huge amounts of meth and other stimulant style drugs so he could operate it effectively.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's one pilot for this.
Your vehicle needs that.
For one giant beast, like one guy piloting this whole thing.
Jeez.
A very southern attitude right there.
Yep.
Hey man, we can get more pilots.
Oh man. So actually we're getting to a unit that I'm really interested in actually is the Hydra. Such a cool name. 25 points. Walker ground 6, armor 10, 5/3, 2 actions, 4 up gunnery skill and piloting, 5 up ECM. Comes with a heavy autocannon that's fast turret, plus F. I think F is. I need to figure out what F is. Heavy
fast turret and fast.
Okay. Heavy grenade launcher, turret, MGM, which is turret, light flamer, which is turret, HMG, which is everything's a turret.
Everything on this turret on this thing, and it's delicious.
And it's a sub 4 sensor boom, which like I said, we discussed that, and ECM. Is this a gear strider or just a strider?
Yep. Well, this is a strider. So the Drake, now correct me if I'm wrong, Colin, but the Drake is the only gear strider.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so we're into the strider territory.
Whereas, like the next ones that we're going to be talking about, the Hydra, the Naga, the Sagittarius, the Fire Dragon, or the Dragon style, they're all striders.
Oh, okay. It's interesting because this thing doesn't even have like lumber or some plate stable. That's why I was like wondering, huh, it's not, it doesn't have any of those weaknesses that you see in the Striders. I guess we can talk about the Naga now. It's 20 points, Walker of 7, Walker's ground of 7, 9 armor. It's a 4/4, 2 actions, 4 up gunnery and piloting skill, 5 EW. Comes with 2 medium ATMs, which is really good. It comes with a medium rotary cannon that's fast hurt and fast, has sensor boom and target designation. Holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's yeah.
It's
And it's
badass.
actually and it's really its points are actually well adjusted. Like it's not as tough and it's super tough, but I like how the points are pretty adjusted accordingly. So it's actually really good. But yeah, anything about the Naga you want to say besides it's a beast, Gene?
This is going to be one of the very few things in South that's very specialized, depending on which version you take, because it's going to be artillery no matter which version you take, but it's very specific. Like it has medium anti-tank missiles, so you can fire one per action because it's double up or double.
Yeah.
The weapons are doubled. Then the long thing Naga or the sniper Naga or the double Nosh Naga or any of the variants, they're all very specialized in what it's going to be doing.
Yeah.
You pick a role and it's going to do that role really well.
Yep. That's true. Next
I
week, guys.
always saw the
Oh
Naga
yeah.
as being a super Yager. Like it's
That's
basically it's a Yager squad all in one because it's
that's
got
very
that
fair.
big gun that it can use as its firing is just like a lot of like its version of a light autocannon, and then it's got anti-tank missiles for disruption. It's not going to really hold ground, but it's fast. It's relatively agile for a Strider. It's relatively quick. I always really like the Naga. They're super cool.
They are fun.
Next we got is the Sagittarius, which is another sub 4 Strider. 26 points, Walker 6, armor 11. It's a 5/3 with 2 actions. 4 up gunnery skill, 6 up piloting skill, 5 up EW. Comes with the heavy ABM, which Gene, you want to clarify? Is ABM, is that like airburst missile?
Yep, that's an airburst missile. It's
okay.
So the mainline Sagittarius always makes me giggle because it's anti-infantry.
Yeah, because it comes with a just a light autocannon fast turret and an HMG fast turret. So
well, that and the airburst missiles have the trait anti-infantry. So the South built a Strider to take out infantry.
okay, yeah, that is interesting because they don't have something.
Do you want to know what it is? What it's from?
Sure. Yeah, let's go with
that
historical.
is the Humanist Alliance platform. They built the Sagittarius.
That's one of the
And
few
it was
from
for killing Grell.
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's
So
cool.
it's good at killing infantry because they needed a Strider to deal with Grell.
Yeah.
That's how scary Grell are.
Next we got is the dragon. So we have 3. It's cool because they have fire, water, and force dragon, which is really cool. Walker of 6, 11 armor. Oh, sorry, that's Sagittarius. 10 armor. It's a 5/3, 2 actions, 3 up gunnery skill. That's great. 6 plus piloting, 5 up EW. The fire variant has a heavy rocket pack, has turret, precise, range 6 to 18 and 40 inches max. Medium flamer, light rotary cannon that has fast turret, auto, and then an MCW weapon. Comes with AMS, auxiliary, lumbering, and stable. So it seems like a very actually I don't really know how to describe it because the other variants have a linked medium FM. So Gene, I don't know what you have to say about the dragon.
Not much. I haven't really used it, mostly because of my love of the Drake or the Nagas.
Yeah.
But they're hilariously specialized depending on which dragon you're taking.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
do notice
also
that.
one of the few things that and I'm sorry to cut you off, but they're one of the few things that you're gonna punish people for taking water terrain.
Oh yeah, because the water dragon has sub 4. Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of sub variants in the South, which is awesome because I was like, I saw sub in the rules and I was like, what has this? And I see the South has a lot of sub.
Because the swamps and the jungles.
All the swamps and all the infighting. The fun thing with the dragon is that it's a civil unrest vehicle. Yep. It was designed to terrify civilian populations into not rebelling. So they basically just stomp this thing into the middle of a city or through the jungles and terrify anyone that gets close to it because it's gigantic, it's mean, and it will absolutely ruin everybody's day around it. Yeah, it's a civil unrest vehicle.
That's awesome. So now we're getting into the tanks and stuff like that. So we got the Hun, which is a 22-point ground 6, 10-inch, sorry, not 10-inch, 10 armor, 5/3, 2 actions, 4 up gunnery skill, 6 up piloting and EW. Comes with a heavy
rifle.
That's turret. Yep. LLC, fast turret, anti-air, medium rocket pack, has turret range of 6 to 18, 40 inches max, medium anti-personnel grenade launcher, and fib 4, off-road 4, smoke. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it seems, well, actually, it's a really tough vehicle. That's what I got to say. Armor 10 with a 5/3. That's a tough vehicle to take out. So, and you're not paying as many points as something like a Drake or something else. So, yeah, and actually, I think most of the variants have amphib. Yeah, all the variants have amphib 4. One of them has, well, I think the Astrogoth might be a different vehicle, but that has amphib 3. Okay. Yeah.
Because the Huns, the Hittite is technically a version of the Hun, but it's a anti-infantry version.
Oh, Hittite? What?
The Hittite.
Oh, no, Hittite.
Hittite.
Man, I feel like so many people are going to pronounce that wrong.
No, it's Hun and Hittite. It's hilarious.
Yeah. What is the use for it? Is it just like, what use do you have for it? Is it just another tough vehicle to get rid of that's cheap for its cost?
So, again, amphib 4, so you're going to punish your opponents if you bring water terrain because you're still moving through water terrain. Not as fast, but still fairly fast.
Yeah.
Plus, they can bring in smoke screens. So you can hide things behind it and they'll get defenses and the things behind them will get defenses.
Yeah. Awesome. So next we got is a, next we got is the Heteroi, which is a 26-point hover 9. So this is the first hover we're seeing in the South. Armor 10, 4/4, 2 actions, 4 up gunnery skill, 4 up piloting skill, 5 up EW. Comes with a medium rotary cannon, that's turret, and medium rocket pack, that's turret as well. LLC, that's a fast turret, has airdrop, jump jets 2, that's auxiliary, and that's it. It's a hover vehicle that's really fast, tough, and comes with a good amount of weapons.
Yep, make your opponents cry.
Yeah. Jump Jets 2 is interesting because because Jump Jets generally, it allows you to go over things up to that amount of inches, but I think Jump Jets 2 inches is not a lot to do a whole lot of stuff, and you're already hover anyways. So I'm trying to think like when those cases will be good.
Do you have any terrain that's 2 inches or less? If yes, you can automatically go over it.
I thought the hover allowed you to. Well, actually, I don't know.
Hover just allows you to go through all terrain, but you'll get, if you don't have jump jets, you will technically get stopped by any kind of like buildings or hills or stuff. Unless it's 2 inches or less, you just jump right over it.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I think vehicle 2 might be a bit shorter than 2 inches, which I think is why they gave it the jump jets 2. Because I think it's if it's less than half your size, you get to fly over it generally, but that's like less than an inch for most things. So yeah, that makes sense. Next we got is the Visigoth, which is a 37-point monstrosity. Holy crap. Ground 4 inches, 12 armor, 6'2", 3 actions, 4 up gunnery skill, 6 up EW, and piloting. Oh my gosh, it comes with a lot of weapons.
Want me to handle this?
Yeah.
So it has a heavy tank gun that's turreted and precise, a heavy autocannon that's turreted, a light laser cannon that's fast turret and AA, 2 medium rocket pods that are fast turreted but auxiliaried, and because it's the South and we have to infight, a heavy anti-personnel grenade launcher. It has off-road 3, smoke, and field armor.
My gosh. I thought the Drake was pretty rough, but
No.
looking at
Main
this,
battle tanks.
Yep.
These are your main battle tanks that you drop into a sock and beat your opponent over the head with.
Have you ever gotten a chance to put a bunch of those on the table?
No.
I have been on the receiving end, and I have done that to people with Aulers. It is an experience worth having.
I need to, because, and I glossed over this. I don't think we really talked about this, but its hull is 6. It has to take 6 damage from armor 12 before it is crippled.
It is a beast, and the Auler and the Visigoth, their conflict is legendary. And it's one thing that I really love about heavy gear is the fact that when the battle tanks actually roll out onto the table, gears scatter. It doesn't matter what kind of gear you are, you get out of the way because they are going to hurt you.
They are going to hurt you. Although, hilariously, we do need to talk about this at some point. Most gears are hilariously good stabbing tanks in Living Rulebook.
Yep. If you can get close to that tank's in trouble.
Yeah, but getting close is going to be the problem.
Yes, because if you're fielding tanks, you probably have more than one. And that's why you're taking the hunts. You put them around the Visigoth, and you use that as volume protector. So get stuff with rotary cannons, and just drive that into your enemy's face. I've seen one of those, a column of what was it, Visigoth and a Khan with an escort of 3 Huns and 4 Caymans full of infantry, and that cracked. That is what I saw that was most effective at cracking the Cobra Castle, because I saw South on South, 2 friends of mine, and one of my friends was sick of seeing the Cobra Castle and was like, yeah, we're going to actually crack this thing. And those tanks did it with authority.
They'll do it too.
Them around. Oh, it was brutal. They didn't play another game for a month afterwards. He was so salty.
Geez. And I think the Visigoth is definitely worth bringing if you just want something to smack everyone else with.
We'll have to have an Aller versus Visigoth match. Throw down something like just tanks. We'll do Clems,
like I said,
Allers, and
you throw them in a sock and beat your opponent over the head with them.
Yep.
And we also have a 24-point anti-air vehicle called the Artemis, which is a ground 4 inches, 11 armor, 4/4, 3 actions, 4 up gunnery skill, 6 up piloting and EW. Comes with 2 heavy autocannons that are fast turret, link, anti-air, has off-road 3 and smoke. It seems pretty obvious what it does. Just shoots down air stuff. And actually, what I should say about the anti-air is that it's not like other games where like you have a negative bonus to firing ground targets. So you can still fire 2 heavy autocannons at people on the ground, but it seems more of an anti-air vehicle than anything.
Yeah, you have an opponent that likes aircraft. Bring this.
Yeah,
make them cry.
It will like aircraft less afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's all the tanks. And now we're on to the two VTOLs that the South have, which is the first one's the Varus, which is a 13 point. Actually, I think it's called the Varus Hopper. I think that's the official name.
Yep.
But yeah, it's 13 points, really cheap. Has a hover of 14 inches. It's a 4/4 with 2 actions, 4+ gunnery skill, 3 up piloting, 5 up electronics warfare. Comes with an LLC that is fast turret, front, anti-air, and then a light rocket pack that is link and auxiliary. Comes with agile, target designator, and VTOL. So it's it's run. You guys could probably explain it more, but it has a wide variety of uses, which
sadly I have never used this, but it is very versatile, and it'll really get up close because that hover 14. Plus, it can designate for itself.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Super good.
Wow.
Super good little vehicle.
Oh yeah, because it has 2 actions. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that.
And a light rocket pod. So it goes, hey, I don't like you being in cover anymore. I eat rockets.
Yep. So everyone's favorite, the Titan. You gotta at least bring 1 to every game, or 3, or 4. Bring as many as you want. 18 points, hover 9, armor 8, 4/4, 2 actions, 4 up gunnery skill and piloting, 5 up electronics warfare, light rotary cannon that's fast turret in front, anti-air, 2 medium anti-tank missiles that are auxiliary, medium AR, which is linked, agile, target designator, APC of 1, and VTOL. Yeah, this thing is awesome. I mean, it's and you see this is another one of those all-around VTOLs that just does so much work and so many different things.
Hey kids, do you like the Hind D from the Cold War era? Do you like it with a little bit more sci-fi aesthetic? This is the centerpiece for you.
Yeah. The Titan is definitely one of those vehicles that every South player talks about. I don't know.
It's so good.
Yeah. The model looks great. The rules are great because it can do a little bit of everything. It can carry people. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want to do a police force with boots on the ground that have infantry with a Titan VTOL.
Oh my god!
I've got a friend with some Titans, and I've seen the Titans with the infantry, and I've been victim to that before. I was playing my Utopian, so I have the excuse of playing a bunch of toasters, and but yeah, it was pretty bad. They're pretty vicious. I did end up shooting it down. It did get shot down. They aren't impossible to kill. I would, in fact, take a Scorpion over one because I'm a Northern player, of course. The Scorpion is a pure attack helicopter. It's not a transport. It's a little better at it. But just, again, that versatility and the ability to just have some infantry. It's super, super strong. Super good.
And you can play Ride of the Valkyries while you put this on the table.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah, because you can, because light rotary cannon, it's good. I think, yeah, like you said, the Scorpion has a bit more damage to it than the Titan, and it's a bit more expensive, so you're paying for that. But yeah, that's what's great about the Titan. It can do a bit of everything, whatever you want. Just take 3 of them, 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we have, so now we're getting to we can skip a lot of these, but generally it's like your transport vehicles and stuff like that. The Cayman is Cayman, sorry, my apologies.
Cayman.
It's an Amphib 5 APC 1 transport vehicle. I think it's the Amphib 5 that's very unique to it.
That and it's APC 1.
Yep.
Dude. Yep.
So yeah, and then like the North video, you can definitely look at most of the infantry squads. The only thing I want to point out is unique to the South. I think you guys will agree is the armadillos, the Barnabys. So I'll let Gene or one of you guys take more into just talk about it, right? Like the lizard riders, because that's very unique to the South when it comes to infantry.
I have no idea why it's just South either. That's not really a thing that the South
New Cool can take them, but yeah, it's very interesting that it's only just the South.
Yeah, I have no idea where that's from.
Yeah. So, Gene, you want to talk about anything? So the main three ones I see that people talk about is the Lizard Riders, the Barnabys, and the Armadillos.
You only get Lizard Riders in South.
What? Hold up.
Oh no, you get a Barnaby, but you don't get the Armadillo.
Yeah.
Is the Armadillo only Nicole?
Yes.
What? Why? That makes no sense because the South is all about. Okay, never mind. Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know, but Lizard
sure.
Riders, I don't know either. I just know we don't get the Armadillo, and it makes me sad.
Yeah.
You want to have somebody riding an ankylosaur running around?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, that's right.
Right.
But touch on it a little bit real fast is so Lizard Riders, you want fast infantry? Oh, dude, here you go. Fast infantry, because their infantry move of 7. And they have agile with technically a piloting skill of 4+.
Oh, yeah, because the regular infantry don't have good piloting skill.
Yeah. So that, and they come in so many variants. Like you want anti-tanks, you want observers, you want teams, you got it, man. And they're fast as all get out. And they're great. And you're only paying 4 or 5 points for a stand.
Yeah,
Which is just amazing.
Yeah, like what was it? The regular Lizard Rider squad comes with 3 figures on one. Okay, so it's just one base.
Yeah, just one base that you pay a whole 5 points for, and their infantry speed of 7. They're not going to be able to take a hit because they're only armor 3, but still they're fast. Do you want to really confuse your opponent by having something scream at them real fast?
Yeah.
There you go. And then Barnaby's, they're just as fast, but they have a close combat weapon they also have the climber rule. So they're going to scream up real fast, or you can be a little bit versatile with them because they have the supply rule. So if you have a single shot or limited ammo weapon that you've already used, like some of the anti-tank missiles, run a Barnaby Caravan Rider up to them and refill their ammo.
That's so weird. If you guys are listening to this, just hop on the forums, email Rob, email the designers, just tell them add the Armadillo into the South.
For the entirety of the living rulebook, they've never had the Armadillo. They've always had the Barnaby or the Lizard Riders.
Because the new Nicole makes sense because they're in the Badlands, but it should make sense that the South, theoretically the North should have them. I just think the South is more. It makes more sense for the South to have them just because, let's be honest, they name their stuff after freaking lizards. They have to go with that theme. So, yeah, I do think that's weird. Maybe they have some lore reason for it, but
there isn't one that I know of.
Yeah,
it's always been just a Badlanders thing, is lizard riding. They both North and South ranch quite heavily. It's a food source, and along the peripheries of both the poles, you will see recon units and things like that using animals, especially in the Western frontier. But yeah, I'm not quite sure why they decided that it would just be only.
The only thing I can even think of is when you look at the North and how, like all the states, how their society kind of works. It makes sense because they're more civilized. I would say, I'm not saying that South is not civilized, but when you generally look at how crazy the South is, I can see them like doing some weird things with like lizard riding folk.
All of the Terra Novan societies, all 7 or 6 or 12 or however many you want to count, are still basically pioneers.
Yeah.
That use the basically most robust solution. They're not looking for high tech. I wouldn't see a Norgard or the UMF wouldn't use lizard riders. Norgard wouldn't use them. The Western Frontier Protectorate absolutely would. Ranching is considered a way of life there, and they have that cowboy aesthetic.
Yep.
And so lizard riders and springers and stuff like that, totally. The Norlights, probably not a huge thing. But again, when you start getting to the borders, you're dealing with people who, yeah, they've got lizards. That's what you've got. And having recon units of that sort of stuff is absolutely in line with what the again, North and South, Peace River, Port Arthur, they all use them.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused by it.
And yeah, that's it, guys. That's the whole list we went through. It yeah, I think the South are great. Actually, after doing this episode with you guys, I like the South a lot. I thought I wasn't gonna. Yeah, they're really great. They're just as good as the North. I thought I was in love with the North when we did that episode, and then after doing the South, I was like, oh, I can see why a lot of people play both the North and South now. Like they're both interesting to learn about, and their units are just great.
Don't worry, when we do Peace River next, if that's the next one that we do, but the next one we do, you'll be just as jazzed for them.
Yes.
That's really the thing, is that all of the factions are super interesting. I'd be totally happy playing any of them. They're all really good.
Oh yes. So yeah, for the listeners out there, the next episode we're going to be doing is the Badlands episode, where we're going to be discussing the New Coal and the Peace River. We'll probably split that one for sure into 2 videos, depending on how long it takes for the lore and to go over the roster. If anything, we're probably going to have to do a separate video on the New Coal roster individually, because I do have a guest who's really into New Coal who could probably give us some insight on it. But yeah, and as far as getting into the South, Gene, this is probably your kind of expertise. I'm pretty sure the starter set is the best way to start, but what else?
For sure.
Yeah. And it comes with a lot of good looking units. It comes with your basic Jaegers and Cobras. What else does it come with, actually?
It comes with Jaegers, a couple of iguanas, and at least a couple of black mambas, and it has a couple of cobras, and it has one king cobra, just to give you a taste of big boys.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because because it's kind of interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, interesting. How?
No, so they did with the New Coal and Peace River. They have this thing where they usually have 6 of the basic gears, 6 of the more elite gears in the case of Black Mambas, and then they have 3 skirmishers and three of the fire supports. But what I like about the South, because you said one of them is the King Cobra, which in the Peace River and the New Coal, they don't have anything like that. They don't add a special model like that into it. So I think that's really cool on the South side that you get a taste of both the Cobras and King Cobra.
And I will add that the King Cobra has armor skirts over the fronts of its legs. The metal version is a giant pain in my butt to put together because of those armor skirts. The plastic ones, breeze, walk in the park.
Oh yeah, it has a cool aesthetic to it with those armor skirts. At first, I thought, I was like, oh, that looks a bit off. But then when I looked more into it, I was like, oh, that is like actually really sweet.
Yeah, it's a slick looking model.
Yeah. And what would you get after that? Oh, sorry.
After that, first off, with the Cobras, is I would not glue the main gun on, or really any of some of the variant guns on. I wouldn't glue those on yet. I would just put the body together, put the vibro blade on, and put the rocket pod on, and of course the artillery rockets for at least one of them, and just try out the Cobras, try out all the variants and see which one speaks to you. Because I'm weird and I love the jungle mowers so much, and I would field all jungle mowers all the time.
The Cobra Castle that I regularly face against, yeah, there's jungle mowers in there. Absolutely, they're so strong.
But I'm crazy and I love to make burp sounds at people and pretending that they're A10s. Because that's what they do. But your mileage may vary and you can be completely different. And when you start to develop a play style, then it goes into what you really want to do. Do you want to do big tanks? Do you want to have more gears? Do you want to try the craziness that is the infantry? And then you can cry about the Cayman with the rest of the Southern players.
Yeah.
Cry some more.
Well, designed by committee doesn't get you a good APC.
Yeah, and we didn't touch on this in the North episode, but what I like about the starter boxes is they're not like 40K starter boxes where GW just, not to talk crap about 40K, a lot of times with those starter boxes, they put in units that don't really work together, or they just do some weird.
You gotta buy more.
Yeah. And that's
And the South
starter
it's great.
Will carry you to 150 TV off the bat, literally.
Yep. Actually, I wouldn't even say more. The nuclear side I was looking at, it comes with around the same models. You're getting more than 150 points in a lot of cases if you
because you're paying more.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, and almost all of it's everything from the Jaegers to the iguanas to the cobras to the king cobra. Everything's useful. You're not getting a single dud.
That is one nice thing about Blitz, is that no matter what you've taken, you can find use for it.
Really cool, baby.
Useful unit.
Yeah, it's more just we went through this with the North and now with the South. But there are profiles that like, okay, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to mix this type of unit with this type of unit. It's more just based off of your taste. Like you'll be playing a lot of games and you'll be like, oh, I want a iguana that's more heavily armored. Then you go on and see, oh, there is I forgot what the name was. I think it was the Gila. So you can find those within the roster, which is awesome. But
do you like elite forces? You can take Fertilances.
Yes,
and you can do anything.
Yeah, and for the viewers, we're not going over the sub list right now because in future episodes we're actually going to go through each state individually, because as we discussed in the North, there are actual books just on each of those states, which is crazy. And after that, we're going to go into the sub list and look at lists, because you can make a South list without really needing to use any of the sub lists. That's what's great about the game. You're not forced to play one of the sub lists. You can just play whatever. But when you go into the sub list, it does change how your army works and what you buy and purchase. So that's how we're going to do it in the future episodes. Colin, do you have any like final thoughts, I guess, for South players? Actually, I would recommend getting a Titan. That's for sure. I think the Titans definitely. Yeah.
For South players, I would recommend leaning into the strengths of the Southern Army. Everything that you get, you should be thinking, what situations can I use this thing in? What's it going to be good at? What's it going to be bad at? They're generalists, so they should be able to handle basically any situation. But I would start with that core GP squad and then push out from there. So that would be 2 starter boxes. We'll get you some, what would that be? There's almost 2 GP squads. So you might be able to get some Mambas in one of them, can beef it up a little bit. And lean into that generality, the fact that you can get each squad to do anything that you want. Lean into that.
Yeah, and you can, I'm trying to, and what's nice about the tabletop, now I know Blitz has simplified a lot of things. I think we discussed how some things can change with the rules, and they're just trying to simplify it and make it easier for new players. But for the most part, a lot of the lore things that you said with the South does translate in some way or fashion into the tabletop, which is awesome. So if you're just more of a narrative player, you can definitely play that narrative feel. And the way that squads are organized, you can still do the same thing with the South. You can still have the Jaegers. What was it? The Command Jaeger, the 3 regular Jaegers, and a Blitzen. Blitz Jaeger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can still have that combo in the game.
It'd still be a very strong combo too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fairly cheap because it's just Jaegers. You're bringing, I think that's like, what, 40 points or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's super cheap and very competent, and will be able to handle pretty much whatever you throw at it, because it's got all of the tools that it needs to get that job done.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that, I guess we can go ahead and close
before
down.
we leave,
yeah.
Don't we have an email for questions, comments, or things you want to talk about, or things that people can talk to us about?
Oh yes, I've totally. Thanks for reminding me that I was gonna mention that this episode. So yes, if you guys have any questions about the lore, about us, a list you want us to review, you can go ahead and send us that question at heavygearcast@gmail.com. I put a link down below, so you can go ahead and just send whatever you like, as long as it's heavy gear related. Do you guys want more personal questions? I think we could just keep it at heavy gear related for now, and then just move on later. But yeah. So anything
Great.
else you guys have that you want to say before we end the episode?
Oh, good. We're gonna have a 1v1 North versus South at some point.
Oh yes,
Yes, we are.
It'll have to happen.
And we're gonna have to take D out to a re-education camp so we can fully join the South now that we've done this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that, and then we'll free you and take you back to the North, where you can come back to the church, see the light.
I know it's funny because I chose the Badlands route. So next episode, I'm probably gonna be really excited.
Hiding in the
desert. But yeah, so yeah, guys, we'll go ahead and chat with you guys later. So remember to play games and build your community.
Bye.
Bye-bye.